participants and faculties and researchers develop a foundational understanding of qualitative inquiry and encourage us all to think critically about meanings, about narratives, and of course, the lived experiences and realities in research. So today, in the day two, we move towards one of the most important dimensions of qualitative research, that is fieldwork. And we'll know how to engage directly with communities, how to talk about their experiences, how to make it significant part of our research and understand their everyday realities. And it will, of course, it happens through observation, conversations, interviews, and participation that qualitative research brings with all its depth and human perspective. Today's sessions will focus on understanding participant observation, ethnographic engagement, conducting interviews, conversational analysis, building rapport in the field, reflexivity, positionality of the researcher, ethics, and the importance of field notes, documentation, memos, etc. So we hope the discussions and the activities today will help us all to appreciate and understand how qualitative research is not just about collecting data, but it is also about listening very carefully to our participants, observing them deeply, and interpreting meaningfully and thoughtfully. I encourage all of you to actively engage in the sessions. Of course, ask questions and participate in the activities planned for today. Once again, I welcome you all with the blessings of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Dean, Sir, our HOI, ma'am. So over to you, Abhiroop, Sir. You can continue with the session. And welcome, ma'am. Welcome to our keynote speaker, Amrita Das, ma'am. She is here. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you for, accepting the invite. And I would especially thank Leena, ma'am, for this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second day of our workshop on qualitative research methods. Yesterday, as Akanksha ma'am rightly mentioned, yesterday was a truly wonderful learning experience for all of us. We explored the fundamental differences between qualitative and quantitative research, understood the unique and niche space that qualitative research occupies in the wider research world, and discussed how different methods become suitable for different research situations and questions. By now, many of you might already have started reflecting on your methodological approach would best suit your own research interests and problems. Today, we are now going to take a slightly different approach rather than only discussing methods and theories. We will focus on specific research studies that have been undertaken by experienced and established qualitative researchers. Through these studies, we will try to understand how researchers actually approach their research problems step by step. In many ways, today's sessions are designed to provide you with a practical blueprint for approaching your research journey. We have strategically selected studies that offer you holistic perspective and showcase the diversity that qualitative research can encompass across themes, context, field realities, and methodological approaches. We hope this will help you appreciate both the flexibility and depth of qualitative inquiry. We will also have comparatively shorter sessions today to allow more interaction and reflections. I encourage all participants to actively note down their thoughts and questions. You may post your questions directly in Zoom chat box during the sessions, and we will try to address as many as them as possible. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our first resource person for the day, Amrita Dasgupta. Amrita Dasgupta serves as a guest teacher at the London School of Economics and Politics Science. She is also a scholar at Department of Gender Studies at the School of Oriental and African Studies, SOAS University of London. She has been fully funded visiting student research collaborator at Princeton University, a visiting scholar at the King's India Institute at King's College London, and a Lowndes Fellow at the Rachel Carson Center for Environment and Society at LME. Her decade-long research engagement with the Sundarbans received international recognition during the launch of the Mangrove Project at the House of Lords in the Parliament of the United Kingdom. Some of her recent publications include Puppets at the Hand of Water, published in the Spring Journal in 2025, and Accommodative Apparatus, Drawing the Life of Sex Work, on the eroding coast of Sundarbans, published in the Environment and History Journal in 2024. We are extremely delighted to have her with us today, and I'm sure her insights and experience will enrich our understanding of qualitative research immensely. So, without taking much time, I warmly invite Amrita Dasgupta, ma'am, to begin today's session.
Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible, and thank you to the faculty, to Dr. Yadav, Dr. Bose, and others for providing me with the podium to share my research with the students. I'm also thankful to the university, the dean, and others involved in facilitating this. And so without much ado, I would like to share my screen so that I can move forward with the talk. I hope it is visible. Today's talk is titled Delta Discussions, a Qualitative Approach to World's Only Mangrove Tigerland. I specifically work on the Sundarbans region of India and Bangladesh, which is an active delta still under formation, and it spans across the international border between India and Bangladesh. Hence, it is a transboundary reserve forest as well. And it is also known as the world's only mangrove tigerland. Why the field becomes so important is because, as you know, at the start, the teachers, the professors were highlighting how different research methods work in different field and different contexts. In that regard, how we approach a delta, which is so diverse, has so many unique elements to it, as well as has its own unique problems, has people living in it who are an emblem of resilience, of quotidian resilience. How do we work alongside them? So before I start, before I go into a deep dive in the topic and the conversation, I wanted to highlight that because I come because I come from a gender studies background, I think most of the researchers who are working on field and does ethnographic research, they will talk about a kind of hierarchy dissolution where the researcher has to become an insider, and in so doing, we are not researching on the people and their life and livelihood and their culture. We are working with them, so researching with them. So there is a kind of hierarchical dissolution, dissolvement, where the community and the researcher is able to break the insider-outsider boundary and come together to research together and bring forth the findings. Now, moving forward, a little bit of history about Sundarbans to give you the context. Sundarbans is in West Bengal, India, and it straddles into major parts of Khulna in Bangladesh. So 40% of it is on the Indian side, and 60% of the Sundarbans is on the Bangladesh side. So this division of percentage happens without much thought during the 1947 partition, where Cyril Ratcliffe was invited to partition India based on certain revenue papers, which was based on the majority of population with regards to religion. Though Cyril Ratcliffe was a lawyer by profession and not a cartographer or a geographer, he just took help of these revenue papers and drew a line as he pleased. And that is when this Ratcliffe line, the line of partition of 1947, ran through waters, religious places that should have not been transboundary, such as an active delta. And that is how the subcontinent was divided. Why this becomes important is again because we are looking at a region which is not only affected by national laws of the country, it also has international law that comes to govern the space, which creates more complexity in the lives of the inhabitants residing there. So now, coming to doing research in such complex region comes with a problem of not being able to very easily gel with the people. It is not just the language that becomes a barrier. Even if you learn the language, there is a difference in lifestyle that might come as a kind of cultural shock to many, right? So it takes time to simmer in that kind of a cultural environment. It will be very, the first time I approached the field, like around in 2013 and 14, I was I was not exposed to the world as much. I had traveled, but where was I traveling? I come from a privileged position, so I was going to places people usually go to vacation to. There are many people who take trips and go for picnics to Sundarbans, but here the idea is you're not interacting with the people in Sundarbans. You are in a water launch or a trawler and you live there and you take out your binoculars and look out to look at the flora and fauna. Your limited interaction with the people is from inside such a water boat or a water taxi or in a hotel, which is very well done, an environment of privilege created amongst, an environment of underprivilege, and you are within those bounds. Wherever you're going, the hotel or the tour manager is facilitating it for you. So it is very well curated for you to see a certain thing and not see the majority of it. So as a researcher, you will not only want to limit yourself to these kinds of constraints. To find the realities of the answers, you will have to be approaching the field as raw as possible. So what you might be doing is maybe, the first time when I went and I stayed in one such hotel. And then I asked around the workers of the hotel that if they could take me to their respective villages to talk to tiger widows that there are. So this place, as I was talking about, is the world's only mangrove tigerland. People live in close proximity with the forest, which is inhabited by tigers, Royal Bengal tigers, crocodiles, snakes, and very recent research shows sharks. So, are we taking questions in between or at the end? Okay, at the end. Okay, thank you. So, what happens that there is a lot of conflict that occurs, and this conflict is majorly due to many of these inhabitants. They have to go to the forest to garner for their survival. Even if they are not traveling to the forest, we have to remember that these forests are under a climatic threat, which is changing the pH of the water, thereby stunting the growth of the mangroves. It is also affecting the lives of the wildlife that resides in these waters and the forest. And due to various several reasons, which we'll look into in a later slide, these animals, especially the tigers, many times they swim across the rivers and enter the villages in search of easy prey, as means of tiger food. So what happens is when the first time I went, I was also constrained into a very privileged, curated experience. And when I started asking them, it was not very easy for them to just take me because I was not their friend. I had to stay there for some time. I had to create a rapport where these people started to believe me. Most of the time, this experience was gendered because many of the people at that time working in the hotels, except for the cooks, would be men. And the cooks you would not be exposed to the cooks as much because in such hotels and resorts, you do not have easy access to the kitchen. So now you will have access to the waiter, you will have access to someone who is taking you on the boat, but they are also under heavy scrutiny by their employers. So they have that boundary of how much they should talk and they would not fall into trouble. The other fact is, because this region is so underpowered, it is under the lens of international aid. So there is a lot of financial support that is being garnered nationally and internationally, and hence many NGOs function in the region. And what happens is that many of the time it is advised that to approach an NGO. Ethics would tell you that you can or must, according to many institutional requirements, approach an NGO, and through the NGO you approach your research participants. But the problem of NGOization is this: in most of the places, right? I can assure, in any of these difficult zones that you go to do your research in, is that majority of the NGOs have a selected community. Like NGOs will have a specific research or a focus point that they work on, maybe tiger widows in Sundarbans. These are women who have lost their husbands to tiger attacks while they were, garnering for the household in the forest, or due to an inland attack by a tiger. And or they will be dealing with other kind of focus points like or focus. They have a function, a specific goal and a community. And while dealing, they're preparing these communities to say certain things like rote learning, which the researcher or the journalist has come looking for. But as a researcher, our ideation of, like, you all must have done this, you have a research question and you might think that this is perhaps the answer to my research question. This perhaps answer is your hypothesis. Now, when you are in and you are trying to see if the answer you thought might be the answer to your question is the actual answer or not. And that is what you're going to test, right? So most of the time, what happens, these NGOs, they will ask you why you are here, what you are looking for, and you'll give them some hints. And from that, and by experience, they're going to prepare community to say those things so that it perfectly fits your answer. So you will not have the variety of, I'm very against using the word data, but for the, but for the lack of a better word, at a very present context, you see as well be very similar or your actual hypothesis, but you need to go through the process to sieve it out. So that is a problem of NGOization is there. Now, research community will be tiger. Then doing this research, I obviously was first to the NGO to do this. I realized they didn't. So it was a purposeful sampling that was done on my behalf by the NGO. When I spoke to them, most of them spoke on similar lines. That was very beneficial for my hypothesis because it came to support it. Now I decided that, there was not much time, but I decided that I would continue the research while I'm writing the thesis. And I will go back to the field, and this time I'm not going to go back to the same hotel so that it's not the same network. I'm not going to inform the NGO. I'm going to go alone. I'm going to ask around, walk around the villages and ask around, try to live there for 7, 8 days, go to the local temple where women would come together to discuss their lives and, what they did the whole day in the evening, or the men would sit by the tea stall and just try to talk to them. So the problem was, I obviously look very city bred. So there is this fear of scrutiny that comes from me. Why am I asking these questions? And the gendered problem again, that this a woman is asking these questions. And because this place is so poverty stricken, corruption is at rise. People are not just at the risk of climate change, human tiger conflict, and the necessity to migrate in order to garner for the family, because apart from fishing, going to the forest, and other NGO interventions that have come but are not very similar across the length and breadth of Sundarbans, but limited to certain regions or islands. There are about 120 islands that are inhabited out of 150 on this side. um, there are people who migrate to the city to earn, right? uh, Now what happens, there are many corrupt networks in these that would take in these tiger widows for low wage laboring in fish breeding, in breeding, or into sex work, promising men and women alike that we are going to give you jobs in the city, but never providing with it, and creating other kinds of problem, taking money, promising about marriage, taking women away, they're never married, they are sold off, they never come back, and if they come back, they tell their horror stories. We have to understand that there is a nexus of corruption that also runs. So a woman who doesn't belong to the place, though speaks their language, goes there, creates a sense of surveillance, creates a sense of alert. So there is a necessity to be able to talk with them and gain that trust. That might take a lot of time, because you will have to understand what they're wanting to talk to you about. They will also do their bit of research about you, where you are staying, where you might have come from, because they also have their local networks in these hotels and resorts. After that, when at least I approach the field, and there are major works, if you look at Srila Roy's work on NGOization, you will find that most of the researchers who approach the field raw, they find very different stories, which still might adhere to your hypothesis. The outcome might be same, but the stories, the evidences in between keep changes, because it is such a varied lived experience that you get to know about. And while you're doing this, there is two methods, right? One is, you can ask, because there is a requirement of ethics. You just cannot keep your recorder on, right? You will have to ask people, can I record what you're saying, even while you're doing this survey? We have still not reached the interview phase. You might just have a notebook where you start writing things, addresses, make small maps that this is the U-turn I took, and these become your field notes, right? Put stars and something important that you remembered elsewhere, somewhere to go back again. So you keep taking notes. Now, after I reached the community of tiger widows who I had not interviewed before through the NGO, it actually did come to change my hypothesis, because their life experiences were so vivid, so not rote learned. And they took me to locations where they thought their husbands had died. They hadn't seen it, but they had heard. It was not just a written experience, a said experience, it was a very visual experience. We will also see how art comes to merge with it, right? So now, uh, when you when all of this happens, when you come back home after this survey, after this knowing of oral histories where they were telling, this has not even reached the interview stage, you understand what themes are starting to emerge. That is when perhaps you want to relook at your questionnaire, which you already had prepared before you came to the field, and talk with your supervisor, or just think, if I want to add something more, because now I have a fair sense of the ground reality. and divide them into themes, like, themes of climate, for my case, themes of animal attack, themes of missing women. Like, was it only the men going to the forest who lost lives? There were also women going to the forest. Why are they not recorded? Something that did not come to my head while I was preparing the questionnaire sitting in my university in Calcutta or sitting in my university in London. When I went into the field, I realized that these women started saying, because if you see the news reports, like from where you'll first get to know about this community, it's all about tiger widows, not tiger attack victims who are women. So, those gaps will become very evident to you. So you have to keep some space before you start the actual work, because there is going to be a lot of restructuring. So once the restructuring is done, you go back to the field and you start your interview method. Now, as I was saying, that there needs to be rapport, the environment, the rote learning problem, the insider-outsider binary. So the best way to dissolve this insider-outsider binary while you're doing the actual work after the survey is getting involved in these people's lives. That is, most of these women would go for prawn seed collection, and I would ask them that if you could take me along with you. First, they would say, you don't know how to do this. So I would tell them, teach me. Okay, I will stand with you, I'll do that. You're going like other researchers I know of, like Callan Dowler, Jinia Mukherjee, who is Lena, the supervisor. They actively went and they dug out a pond with other people, and they actually learned how ecosystem work is done in the region. That is how they know that you are invested. You are not someone who are here to extract. You're here to also give back, right? There is many other formats of giving back, because it might be time consuming, right? We do not have so much time. But getting, like, if you're cooking, I want to cook alongside with you. That is a little daily thing you can always do while you are going. You buy your daily groceries, buy some for them, go and cook along with them and share a meal, right? These are ways of creating that kind of rapport. Now, coming to the approaches, the ethics and documentations. One of the documentation process that I spoke to you about is field notes and drawings that you put, recording, but there is a ethical concern here. We need to be asking people for their permission. So before we do an interview or we record their oral history while they are speaking, this, you can ask for a verbal consent. It really depends on how the university structures these. So for me, it was like, if it is a verbal consent, we have to be empathetic people. In many regions that we work in, people do not know how to sign their names, but they can always give you verbal consent. So you can record that. You can say, Jay, you can ask them in their language that, can I have your interview? Can I record what you are saying? And they will say yes or no, however, and you have that in recording. The other is preparing a consent form which says, like, you're doing, why you need their interview or their oral history, how you will record it, how it will be used, if their names will be used or not, if they do not consent their names to be used, how secretly you're going to keep it, right? Because many times in conflict zones or in zones under pressure, people do not want their identities to be revealed. So we have to keep them anonymous, use a different name, not numbers. Okay, that and a signature. So you have to explain it to them. It is in English as well as in their language if they can read, and they give you a sign. It is advised that you take a fingerprint, because it is very, it is looked as a very undignified intrusion into personal boundaries. So it's easier if someone has to give you a fingerprint, it's easier to read that out and record their consent. Okay, so now coming to this interview format, there is a questionnaire which you have restructured. It can be a closed questionnaire or an open-ended questionnaire, right? A closed questionnaire is you have questions already set and you ask them and they reply to you. That is all that you have. But an open-ended questionnaire is somewhere where the answer to the first question leaves scope for you to regenerate or restructure the second question. And accordingly, it moves forward. Now, coming to ethnography. When I was talking about this survey, it is basically I'm talking about an ethnography. Ethnography are of various styles, but two of them I could talk about in detail is walking and staying, seeing and floating. So, you can walk around an area. You will be doing a lot of walking and traveling with the people you are interviewing because you're trying to gel into their lives, right? It is not that just sit in a location and you just talk to them. You might be walking alongside, seeing, what triggers them. They look at a plant and they start saying you a different story, why that happened. All these junctures are going to shape your research finding as well as your research writing. So your thesis is also written in a way, the ethnography is written in a way where you see there is a lot of, storytelling. I went, I did. Many of the researchers use the word I, autoethnography, where they are questioning their own perspective, power, and privilege. But that might become, in many times, in many research it fits, but in many research it becomes a kind of a disbalance. The equilibrium is lost, that where the focus from the community shifts to the researcher, sometimes it looks a bit judgmental. So there is a way of weaving that around. And it's not I, it's we, or it's just a narrative format of in Sundarbans on 22nd December, so and so things happened, and then you move. So the writing pattern also changes. So if you have your field notes, or if you're recording your field notes, like you can just keep talking to yourself, like, I took a toto from here, I saw a cockfight on the road, right? And then I saw people were grumbling about something. What were they grumbling about? And you come to know that this is a very pertinent issue in the region, right? And that is how you frame the writing as well. While you're doing the research, you're not just getting the information that informs your hypothesis, proves it, negates it, creates a new one. You're also forming yourself as a writer. You're taking the points. Some people like to write it, like I like to write it as a diary entry. I write it like very chronologically. That is, my pattern of writing. Your pattern of writing an ethnography might be thematic. You divide it into themes. You might not want to structure it as a diary entry chronologically. You might want to do it in a different format of chronology where different interviews you place together, and it's not by the date you took the interview, but what these people were speaking with with regards to when the things happened when you were asking them. For example, when I was working with the tiger widows, all of them I asked, when did you lose your husband? And they did obviously give me a date or something, or they told me around this time. That was another chronology I could have traced to write the ethnography I was doing. And the other format which I actually did is the day I was taking the interviews, that was the chronology. So there are different formats in which you can structure your writing. So you have to be very involved and very concerned about if you are not missing things out, because this does not feed to your finding. This also feeds to your writing. So it prepares you as a writer, right? Okay. So now coming to oral history, how is it different from interview? So an open-ended questionnaire and oral history is somewhat similar. In what aspect? An open-ended questionnaire, you ask the first question and then, depending on the answer, you can restructure the second, and that is how it, second question, and that is how it progresses. Oral history is like maybe you just wanted to know about the place and the person starts saying so many things. You don't have to ask questions, like they just go on and you put in a random question there and they just go on again. So it is a very spontaneous method. So it doesn't have a signpost. Right after this, I will sit you down and you will tell me. It's like a very informal, quote unquote, adda, as in Bengali, we would say that people come together informally and they talk about anything and everything. So there is no direction. And if you are able to, remember it, take down points or record it, that's how it's going to work. So now many times the other qualitative approach is community participation. That is by means of focus groups. So in Sundarbans, like again to give an example, is that many times I would like one of my papers that is already published by the Asiatic Society. Here I called, I did a focus group. What is a focus group? I called together a few women who were tiger widows, and this had no purposeful sampling. I just invited anyone who would be free and want to come at a certain place and time and discuss about certain things about, the nexus of sex work and how people are kidnapped, how women are kidnapped or women are pulled into this nexus who are especially tiger widows in Sundarbans. And what happened is they would come together, and again a format of adda where everyone talks to everyone and issues come up and you can ask them more things, so you have a set of information ready with you. So one of the factors that NGO does is they do the sampling for you. But when you are in the field, how do you do your sampling? You don't know the entire community and your sample size. You might have a fair sense that when you went to the field, I want to interview 25 people. But you go and you see that 25 people, it might be you need to interview more or you need to interview less. But how do we do that for that matter? It is through a process called snowballing method. If you find, I found my first tiger widow, I spoke to her and I told her, do you know of other people who are tiger widows? And likewise, they would put me into contact with others. That is the snowballing method. So now the sample size depends on many things. That is uh, how vast your field site is, the community size is. So if the community size is 100, then taking 10 people is enough. But if it is 200, do you need to take 20 or 25 to actually know that, the probable answers fit, right? We have to look at the ratio. It also depends on how many people are available and would want to talk to you. That is another thing. Now coming to action research. Many places like qualitative research, we are talking about emotions, we are talking about involvement with people, we are talking about rapport, we are talking about breaking the hierarchy and the insider-outsider boundary. And that is where action research becomes very important. It is not just about I wrote a thesis, I published, and I gained everything out of it. Action research is also about doing activities. It is not always about activism. It might mean activism, but doing activity, as I was saying, not just with them. I cooked along with them. As I was talking of Professor Genia Mukherjee, people from IIT Kharagpur under her mentorship went and they dug out a pond. They made things there that helps the community that lives there, right? So that is a kind of action taking as well. Like you are just not taking from the community, you're giving something back. There are other ways of these actions as well. Like for me, I obviously did not have the scheme or the funds to do something so very materially tangible. But I do produce my research work in news portals, in blogs, in the regional language in which they might read, or if someone might read to them, my research participants know what is being talked about them, right? I make documentaries, which it is made in Bengali, the regional language, but it comes with English subtitles and it circulates across the world, and it comes with contact information of people in the region. They can be directly contacted, and if there has to be some things sent, they can be sent. Now coming to arts-based research, which is a very different format, and in the next slide we will see how it is different with example. Arts-based research is something, for my PhD, I extended my work on Sundarban, and it looked not only into the tiger widows and their relation to climate change, religion, local law. It looked into how these tiger widows were being trafficked into sex work. And that is when I started working with this ostracized, socially ostracized community. They told me that everyone comes with a questionnaire. We are going to give you rote learned answers, monotonous answers, but if you really need an insight into our lives, you're not going to just get it through ethnography or living with us. I did go, I lived with them in the same hut. I would know what is happening, right? I knew the timings, the another chronology, as I was saying, timings. When did the customer come? Or, the theme of how they spoke. They told me find a different method to do this. And a different method that I found was an arts-based research, which I term as an accommodative apparatus, because I was accommodating their wish. And this is where I did not follow a questionnaire. I took out keywords from the questions I had, such as friendship, human water relationship, such as location, future, like what future they envision. I took those keywords. I asked them to come for weekly workshops where I gave them pen, paper, colors, and the keyword. They thought about the keyword, whatever life experience came to their mind. They drew for a week. And just after a week, they would come back and they would describe. And with their consent, those descriptions are recorded. So that is how I recorded their life experience without putting them through the hassle of feeling that, everyone asks us the same question. So it is, if everyone asks us the same question, we give the same answer, but there is so much to say, but we are tired. We are not okay or comfortable with the process. So a new process was developed, a new methodology. Okay. So here are a few examples of, and yeah, I'll take more 5 minutes and then we can move to questions. This is me from a boat, as I was saying, floating and seeing is one of the method. Uh, my second research in Sundarbans was in the port brothel of Mongla, which is in Bangladesh, Khulna. And as you can understand, it's a port brothel. It's a sinking port brothel. So there is water on all three sides, that is River Pasur. And I usually used to be on a trawler and used to go on the field over, on the river. And this is my notebook. This is where I used to draw usually and take notes through drawing, because walking gives you a pace. You can hold, you can stand, but if you're on a steamer or on a moving boat or on a trawler, you do not have the leisure or the privilege to stand and take it in. So it's all in the passing. The diagrams that were generated while I was on the shore, mapping the same shore while I was on the boat, was absolutely different, because your perspective, your gaze, and your range changes. So this is one of the examples of how it was done. As you can see from the boat, I could see this eroding bank of Mongla, where women do their occupation. These are the women who would actually come out on the banks draped in sari and wait for customers. These are boats and these are stilts. Maybe at the end, I could show the actual picture. I forgot to put it in the slide. They were like bamboo sticks coming out of the eroding bank into the coast. And the submerged coast into the water with wooden steels, and that is where you had to walk and go into these huts. Now, coming to one of the examples by the sex workers, as I was saying, arts-based research, this is an example of accommodative apparatus. So the keyword for this was water. And one of the participants, let's call her Sophia, she draws the actual location here. And as you can see from my diagram, if I go here, this is where we enter the brothel space or red light area through here. So these are the stills here. You can see, right? I was somewhere here on the boat. These are where the customers come. These are the huts of the women in different colors. And in painting in different colors, I asked Sophia that why would you put different colors? And she told me, different colors symbolizes different things. And she inverts the grammar of coloring. With green, we would usually associate evergreen or jealous, but she's just associated it with a kind of a gift that she was given by the inhabitant of this hut. a fellow sex worker. So it was a green sari, so she just painted it green. So this is the remembrances she was putting. This is the water behind them, and you can see there is water on all three sides. And here down, you see that there are pencil drawn hearts which are not colored. And I asked her if she did not have enough time or the colors were, out of stock, so she could not color. She told me, no, these are the villages from where other customers come. But, I don't know these customers enough. We don't have a rapport. There is no ties with them, emotional ties with them. So I don't know what color to give them. So I did not put any colors on them. Again, coming back to ethics, you see these black patches. These are identifiable information which they did not want to be out because they come from an ostracized occupation, and their names being out might create problems for their families that they have elsewhere, or might create violence into their lives for doing this. So it has been hidden behind a black patch, but staying true to the fact that I am not the author or creator of this art piece. I cannot use their names, and their identifiable information are all hidden behind dark patches. Whenever there is an exhibition, and there are exhibitions that have already happened at King's College London and SOAS and elsewhere, what happens is these come with a QR code, and when you scan the QR code, you can hear them describe what they have drawn because they were recorded and with consent. And on the website, you have that description pop up in English, so you know the translation, so you can at least hear them. And if possible, I might try to do that at the end of the presentation. So this is, my presentation. I look forward to your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really good and a very, very new thing, I'm sure, for all our participants. Yes, we have a small, brief discussion we can have. Okay. Akanksha, ma'am, we can have a small discussion.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. You actually gave a nudge to the field worker in me. Thank you so much. I think participants can have questions put in the chat box, or I'll just allow them so that they can unmute themselves and put forward their questions. Yes, I've made the required settings. Yes, anyone? So Rajeshwari is very thankful for the presentation, ma'am. It has been very inspiring for her.
Thank you.
Sarbani Pal, I think she wants to.
Yes, Sarbani, you can unmute yourself and put forth your question.
Thank you so much.
I have a
Thank you so
question.
much, thank you so much, Amrita ma'am, for the presentation. I think the one that you mentioned, the accommodating the operator, I think it was really new to me. But I want to hear more that like once you give them the keyword and they drew what comes to their mind out of that keyword, like how you decode that, or how you connected their illustration with your research question. So I want to hear more about how you drew the connection. What was the method that you follow? Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharbani. So, when I gave them the keyword, like before we could start the workshop, we had to do another workshop where I told how the method is going to work. So I specifically gave them an example, like if this is the keyword, you all draw. And they did, just one single element. You can see how this is done as well. I'll share a few links at the end. So these are usually done by psychologists. What they do is to create mindfulness in us. Like many of the times we are so anxious, we do not look at the little things happening around us. So they ask us to doodle, just put it on paper. Okay, don't lash out, put it on paper. I was using it in a different format. So in that workshop, what we did is I just gave them a very easy keyword, say friend. And I told them, draw whatever comes to mind. One element, just one element. Someone drew a human being, someone drew a plant, someone drew their child, someone drew, another person drew a dog. Okay, their pet. and someone drew a duck. And then they started saying, and I said, why did you draw a duck? And they would, that also to a best friend. They told me a story. She told me a story why that duck was her best friend and why she could not talk to anyone around, because she thought she was not very good looking and everyone would just make fun of her and they would take away her customers, right? So they understood what is to be told and I understood what they would tell me, right? So once the interviews were done on those keywords, my questionnaire was already gone. I was not looking at a questionnaire anymore. Whatever I had from the interview was then my data to put forward as evidence for my hypothesis. So it was not finding answer to a questionnaire. It was just giving them a point to start from where without, a question is, where do you live? You give them a signpost where. But when you give them a keyword, say like water, you don't know if they'll talk about their location. Someone spoke about their location. Someone spoke about their pregnancy journey, like how they were in labor and how they had to birth their child on the way on boat because they thought that it would be easy to not go to a hospital and just do it at home, but it went out of hand. And then they had to take her to a hospital, but she delivered midway. And that is how I was relating the findings to my hypothesis. So the questionnaire was gone from middle. It was just the hypothesis and the finding. And that is how I was relating if my hypothesis stands or does not. Now,
Uh,
yeah. So,
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am.
yeah.
But can you give me an example of the questionnaire that you had?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. I'll just share it on screen. Just if you give me a moment, I can show you both. Like what was the questionnaire and how the keywords came out of it. Just give me a moment. I'm just having to look through.
and also how you related to the actual interviews or the conversation that you had.
Yeah, just a moment. Okay. So, mm, okay, here, can you see the questionnaire? So this is a semi-structured questionnaire for PhD fieldwork that I was using. I already had it divided into themes, as you can see, right? So if we just look into work-related specific questions like customer availability, what kind of customers like sailors or tourists, national or international, approx remuneration per day. This is how it was done. So now coming to the keywords, can you still see my screen? Okay. You can see that I have just, it's a
Your
board.
screen is not visible, ma'am. We can see
Okay.
you, but I
Okay,
think
just a moment. I'll just try to share it again. Yeah, here. So it is visible now.
Yeah, it's visible now.
So you can see that I was using, there were certain sections which said border and it had 5 questions on border. It was I just condensed it into border, care, child, cyclone, dream, exile, family. So the example I just gave you, it was on water. And the story that they told with regards to it is they have water on all sides and very soon they're going to lose their land. If you read the present plea underneath it, I'll just do that again like, to share with you. Just a moment. I'm trying to figure out things here, which I think I cannot very well figure out. Yeah. Here. Okay. So if you see the present plea, it says, on the 4 sides of our habitation, we have the river. Erosion on the coast affects our homes. We bear losses. We have meager incomes, but we need to spend more than what we earn. This is a literal English translation of what is written in Bengali here in the water. So to water, they say me too many things that is about erosion, their future that they see, their income and how it is not very, very, fulfilling for the life they live. Why is that, right? They tell me all of that. So it's not fitting into a questionnaire, it's fitting into themes of income, themes of water, relation to water, themes of future, like the future they envision. Someone might, in a different keyword, not on water or friendship, talk about a future that I see a future where I'll know no one. Perhaps they're saying something like that. That again falls within the thematic category of future. But in that description, they have talked about future, they have talked about water, but their keyword was friendship. That is where, thematically things start moving, and you have to structure it thematically and then put it in relation to
Hey,
your
मम्मी खरबूजा काट ले यार.
and you have to put it in relation to your hypothesis. I hope I have been able to explain. If not, please do
Okay,
ask.
we can take Jyotsna Rosario's question. Jyotsna, can you put your question?
Yeah, so my question is that when you do a study like this, how do you decide sample size? How do you decide that now is the time to stop sampling, even if you're going for snowballing?
Okay, so it depends. First of all, you have to know the time and the expanse of your work. So if it is MPhil, for MPhil, we just get 5 or 6 months to do field work and another 6 months to write. So first of all, there is time constraint, and that becomes the major issue. So time has to be prioritized with respect to how large the field is. So then, I limited myself to a single block of a single island. So blocks will have maybe perhaps say 50, 60 homes. And in those 50, 60 homes, you'll find 30 people. And it's easier to do, then the method will also change. You cannot do a long-term arts-based workshop if you want to. If you have to do an arts-based workshop, you cannot have a, keyword proper drawing. You have to have elemental drawing, that is like one element. So, you're narrowing it. It is absolutely on the time first, then the expanse of the field that is going to decide how many people you're going to interview or work with. So for my PhD, I had more time. I had 3 years of field work. It also is about funding, if you have funding to do it. And the expanse, because I had 3 years, so I could expand it from, Sundarbans India to Sundarbans Bangladesh. And I could interview not interview, work with more than 100. But then again, the location I was working in, the sample size itself, the entire population was only 100. If there would be more, I perhaps would have done more if time would permit. But my field, again, they were already facing erosion, so they had migrated. The population there was 100, so there was my snowballing also went haywire, because there was so little population there that um, it felt uh, it felt not good. It felt very wrong that, information would be lost if I don't talk to everyone there, because very soon they will be gone. So it is also the situation. Like in some fields, you can go back and you will find the similar community there. But for my field in Bangladesh, they were already like being engulfed by water on all sides. They very soon lose their occupation line and everyone will be set floating. We don't know where the community will be gone, where their histories will be gone. So it felt very, triggering to not talk to everyone that there was. So there is obviously time, there is space, there is scope, there is the length and breadth of your research field, and the urgency of talking to the research community. These are, these are few things, elements to keep in mind, and you have to shift the priorities accordingly. So I might have done a few lesser interviews in Bangladesh if I would have lesser time, lesser fund, but still, the community size would be same, and they would be losing their, land to water. But, those are certain kinds of priorities we have to do depending on the conditions that we are in. Yeah, thank you.
Can I take Aditya's?
I
Okay,
just have a question.
okay.
So how do you know that I am getting a representative sample? If suppose I have very less time, very less resources, and I see that people are not talking to me, then how do I know, like, if I am not able to get consent, like I am facing a lot of fieldwork related difficulties, then how do I know that okay, I can work with 10 samples or 5 samples? Like how do I know that I am getting representative sample?
Okay, so this question has two parts. One is having representative samples and one is facing difficulties. Okay, so if you face difficulties, you're not able to gel in and you have very less time, approach an NGO. NGOization comes with its own problems. Mention it in your thesis, put a critical analysis of it. As I was saying, look into Srila Roy's work. You will find other works in the bibliography and contextualize your finding likewise. Now coming to representative sampling, once you have difficulty gelling with people, which is absolutely understandable because every situation is unique and there is time constraint. So there is nothing to feel bad about that you're doing something wrong as a researcher. Absolutely not, right? So representative sample, how do we understand? Is in a context where you are able to gel with people, while you are getting your findings, there is something called a triangulation method. That is, the first day you talk to the person, after 3 days, talk to the same person. In between, perhaps you were talking to others. And you see that if they are repeating the same answers or if they have changed their answers. Now you repeat the same with the other participants you have and see if you don't only see that if they're repeating their answers or they have lost trace of what they had replied to. Why is it so? If they have some cognitive disorder or due to age or due to rickety memory, try to note them down. And also the representative sampling, how you understand is you're asking all of them the same questions, right? Most of them will have similar experiences. Like tiger widows obviously are going to talk about why the husband went to the forest. And the reasons are perhaps all the same because they're in the same social setup. And you see, those same words and themes are going to come back, come back, come back. So once you do the thematic structuring, word structuring, you will know that. If you don't want to do it manually, there is an application called NVivo, and you can just copy paste your interviews into it, and it is going to do the thematic structuring, categorization, as well as keyword structuring and categorization for you. That is when you know if there was a representative, repetition there. Yeah, that is how I would tell you. There might be other ways as well, I'm very sure, because there are experienced field workers here. I know Leena Di as well has been to the field many times. I'm very sorry, like I haven't got time to immerse in others' work, but I am very sure Dr. Yadav and Mukherjee and others will also have inputs here. I could just speak from my limited experience that I had.
No, it was too good. Very good. Uh, can we take Aditya's
Amrita,
question
can you
next?
share the
Okay,
video
first
snippets with
Leena,
us?
ma'am.
Yeah, pardon, Leena Di, I couldn't hear
Can
you.
you share a small video with us,
I
like two
can,
to
I
three
can.
minutes?
Yeah, I can. I'll just ready that while the question
Okay,
comes.
okay.
Yeah, can we take Aditya's question next? Aditya Raj, please be quick.
Also, ma'am, can you mention the name of Sheila Roy's work, which we should refer to?
Yes, I can do that. Just give me a moment. I'll share the video or take another question. And while I share the video, I'll just search it up and tell.
Okay, okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, I think Aditya is not here. So,
So am I here? I'm
okay.
here. Can you
Yeah,
can
we
you hear
were
me?
waiting for your question.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's just there was a network issue. So Amrita, thank you for showing up your exemplary work. I'm particularly drawn to your art-based research uh, method. So my question is, if you are like how you interpreted those doodles in your writings, like in your thesis work, how you exactly put into the words, or if you are doing or you have already done, like how you actually interpreted those.
So basically, as I was saying, I was putting it into thematic categories and looking at how it helped my hypothesis. So the chapter that deals with it is an entirely empirical chapter, and a few of it has already been published. So if you look up Accommodative Apparatus by Amrita Dasgupta in Environment and History Journal, you'll find the writing. I don't go into much interpretation. What I do is I keep things as they are being told. If they refer to some kind of history, I just dive into the history archivally and explain it. If they talk about their present situation, then maybe I am, putting it in context of other writing, journalistic writing or news report that has come out. I am not trying to be the interpreter here because I, as a researcher, I'm only gathering the information and providing context. So when about that inverting the grammar of colors is, that is not something I devised. She told me, and I asked Sophia that, do you know that colors are actually used this way? And she told me, yes, I know. Like, it was not that she did not, but she wanted to use it differently. It was deliberately done. So it was not my interpretation. It was what she told me. And my knowledge of theory that I had from arts-based work, because I'm also an artist and curator, that is when I brought in the artist perspective and already, art history theories that talks about how grammar of colors were changed across history and across places. That is where I just contextualize it by giving what is already being written. So I am not interpreting anything by myself. If I have a question on interpretation, I ask them. If she would tell me, oh, I did not know about colors, then it would not be inversion of colors and the grammar, inversion of the grammar of colors. It is how colors performed in her life, right? That is what she would be telling me. And if there would be previous work that is done on it, I would be contextualizing it according to that writing. But it was not so. She did tell me that I know what it means, but I wanted to use it like this. So there was a deliberate inversion of the grammar.
Thank you.
Okay, so should I share the video? Okay, cool. So this video is basically, it will give you an understanding of Sundarban, of tiger attack survivors, and where Sundarban stands at the moment climatically. So I hope you can see my screen. Okay. You can see my screen, right?
আমরা এই চাষবাস করে খাই, তারপরে ধরুন এই আয়লা, তারপর ঘূর্ণিঝড়, এই সমস্ত ঝড় আসে, আমাদের ক্ষয়ক্ষতি হয়। তারপর আমফান এলো, তাও এই ক্ষতি হলো, ওইরকম ভাবে চাষবাস হয়নি। নোনা জল ঢুকলে জঙ্গলই আমাদের দেশে কোথাও কোনো রাস্তা নেই, আমাদের তো বাঁচতে।
Sundarbans, world's only mangrove tiger land, is the first line of defense against cyclonic storms in India's eastern coast. The mangrove ecosystem is gradually degrading due to penetration of forest by the Sundarban islanders, loss of agriculture to saline water invasion after cyclonic storms, compelled by hunger, the need to garner forest resources in the absence of alternate means of income, forced the islanders into the forest. Driven by poverty, even the tiger attack survivors and those that have lost their family members to tiger attacks feel the irreplaceable need to garner forest resources for their survival. To save the entire state of West Bengal from submersion in the near future, the state government should either provide alternate means of income to the islanders or secure their planned rehabilitation in the city. This should save the Sundarbans ecosystem.
Ma'am,
Yeah, pardon.
how did you bring your data into policy recommendation, and did you send letters to the government, or like did you engage that way also with your work?
Yeah, I will. Should I say this after the video or while the video is running?
বাচ্চা যখন আসে প্রথম,
Ma'am, after would be
দেখতে পাই,
Okay, sure.
আমি তো দেখতে পাই না, কারণ আমি দোষালা বলে দিকে লোক থাকি। বাচ্চা এসে ও আমাকে বাসায় কি দিল, আমাকে ও সড়ক করতে, উনি যে কোনো কৌশলে ছাড়িয়ে গেলাম, ও পাঁচ সাইডে প্রমোট দিন।
স্বামীর নাম মনোতনী মন্ডল, আমার নাম কৈফালা মন্ডল। আমরা দুজন স্বামী স্ত্রী, দুজনই আমরা জমস্ত, সেই কাংড়া ধরতে চাই। একদিন গিয়েছি, ওকে নিয়ে চলে গেল। আমার এমনি জমি জায়গা নেই, শুধু বাস্তবটাই আছে। অনেক জায়গায় ঘুরেছি, অনেক জায়গায় গেছি একটা কাজের জন্য, কিন্তু কোথাও আমি কোনো কাজ পাইনি। নিজেও ভেবে দেখেছি যে আমি জঙ্গলে গেলে আমারও তো জীবনের কোনো দাম নেই, তো ছেলে মেয়ে দুটো ভেসে যাবে, কিন্তু কিছু করার নেই। ইনকাম না পেলে না কেউ, হয়তো আমাকে বাচ্চা দুটো নিয়ে তো বিদেশে যেতে হতো। সরকারি ভাবে যে সাহায্যটা পাই সেটা খুব সুবিধা হয়।
Okay.
Yeah. So the book that you need to look at Srila Loy's work, which is called Saving Women. So you'll find many, women empowerment workers in West Bengal, Changing the Subject by Srila Roy. So just a moment, I'll just give you the name of the book. Changing the Subject by Srila Roy. So this is, feminist and queer politics in neoliberal India. That is where you'll find a little bit of writing on NGOization. Yes. The question about policy, policy recommendation, could you please repeat the question, please?
Ma'am, I wanted to know if you engaged your work with policy recommendation. Did you engage with the government or did you take your work in that journey?
Okay, so about the tiger widows, I hadn't done it, but with regards to sex work, I did. And the policy recommendation that was framed, it was presented to the UK Parliament, House of Lords. It was by invitation. And I have absolute no experience how it works in India because I did not do any, but there are many people like Meghna Mehta with others who are trying to do this with regards to tiger attack widows. I'm sure that Professor Mukherjee, Junior Mukherjee is also involved in it. But I am not. I did look into the aspect of sex work and climate change in the UK. And in the UK, it's quite easy. Like if you frame a draft of the policy recommendation as to what is already existing, and you write about what changes and you prefer and why, and you give your evidence towards it, that is your research, and you submit it to the Westminster. If they pick it up, if any of the members, parliamentary members pick it up to be discussed in the parliament, that is when you're invited again to, present your work, and that is when it is discussed and if changes are advised or suggested.
So you mail them, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You
so
mail.
there is a proper method of emailing them, but it is country specific. So it has to be with relation to changes you make in the UK. That is when they take that up.
Okay.
Okay, we can take Jayanti's question quickly. Please be brief because we are running out of time. Yes, Jayanti Das, you wanted to ask something? Jayanti Das. Okay. So we will be concluding the first session. Yes, you are there.
Am I audible?
Yes.
This is Jayanti Das.
Yeah, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, actually, I have very short kind of question. I have a question related to that snowballing one. Ma'am, I want to ask, what is this method is about? Like, suppose I am doing this snowballing method is basically the character it is done in very human trafficking area or something like very sensitive area, whatever the textbooks or any other things says. So you have used that method in your thesis, right? So is it possible, or it is there are variations in this method that we can use in other topics as well? Because in many cases when we go to the field we do not catch the proper representation of the population when we where we want to. Sometimes we have to go ask many different people, and then at the end of the day we go and catch the right person at the end, and we do some kind of over there. So like, can you just explain it a little bit?
Okay, so how do we select methods? So it is not that some methods are, it's a textbook case that some methods fit well here and some don't. It is absolutely what your field requires. So once you are in the field, you will understand if the method you had in your head will work or not. Like I went into Bangladesh thinking questionnaire will work, but they just threw me into the water and they told me, no, this is not going to work for us. Until and unless I would visit the field, I would not know that what they wanted or how to do this. But many times we do know what might work from afar and we are not put into much trouble while we are at field. So it is not absolutely a textbook case. The only textbook thing to remember in a field is to listen to your participating community as to what they are asking and ethically do it. So a snowballing method is absolutely not something that is preferable in one context and not another. For if I give you an example from daily life, then if you have to ask for directions to reach somewhere, you're doing a snowballing method. You are approaching someone, you know, and you're asking,
Yes, ma'am.
brother, where is the mall? And he tells you, go right, go left, go this side.
Yes.
Okay. Then you
Yeah.
go, and maybe he's not referring to ask the rickshawalas or ask another pawn shop which is near the left side of this road, and from there they'll give you more direction. They're not, but perhaps you do that anyway in order to be sure that you are given the right directions. So it is absolutely like that. You have a community in mind specifically that I have to maybe interview people who work in the mall, in the ice cream parlor. So what you'll do, you'll go to the mall and ask where is the ice cream parlor, right? And they're going to give you direction. So that works for this setup. This setup might not work from some other field context. For example, maybe you want to interview the audience of the theater of a movie theater. So what you do is you stand outside the movie theater and you know that the exit gate is going to open here and people are going to come out. So you're not having to ask anyone. You're just there, just questioning people because they were content in a space. So it really depends on case to case matter.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So one thing which we have already understood that for qualitative research, we have to be adaptive. If you go through famous literatures, you will see that they have documented the adaptation. They have gone with a different thought process and they have adapted slowly. They have changed their methods and then they have gone for the final interview. Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for such an insightful, enriching session.
Thank you so much.
Today's
Thank you for this
discussion gave us a
faculty.
very practical understanding of how qualitative research can be conducted in a completely unfamiliar and foreign field setting. We learned not only about the research process itself, but also about the sensitivity, patience, and ethical responsibility that a researcher must carry while working in a hard to reach and vulnerable space. Your experience helped us understand the important do's, don'ts while entering sensitive communities, building trust with participants, approaching difficult conversations, and maintaining both empathy and professionalism throughout the research journey. I'm sure that today's session has answered many of the questions and doubts that participants had in their minds regarding fieldwork and qualitative engagement. On behalf of all the participants and organization, I sincerely thank you once again for taking out your valuable time and sharing your knowledge and experience with us. We are truly grateful for such a thoughtful and inspiring session. I request all to please switch on the camera so that we can have a group photograph.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much to the faculty, to the university, and the audience for coming here. And I hope that I have been of some help, if not of much. And if you have any further questions, I have put my Gmail in the chat box, so you can forward me questions if you have any. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, I would also request you to kindly share your PPT with us. Maybe you can send it to me or and I'll maybe forward it to the participants because yes. Okay, the thing is done. Yes. So thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for being here and sharing your experiences with the participants. I think this was such an engaging and insightful session. Thank you that we were almost in the field. The way you comprehended your experiences. Thank you. And my field worker is on now for maybe some another project. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
So,
thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
thank you so much.
We will again meet for the second session of the day. Kanksha ma'am.
Yes, maybe the participants can have a 5 minutes break and then we'll be starting our next session. So it's 21 by 26 or something, we'll start the next session. So I would request all of you to please join. And I mean, you may not leave the meeting in that case. You may switch off your audio and video.
Even now. And also some of the evaluation studies, like I work with one of the NGOs also. There also, I have just worked on, I was hired as a technical evaluator to just evaluate their work. So this particular session, I will focus on my work, although 3-4 projects I have worked. So if time permits, I will try to sum up all those projects. So you all are aware from last previous sessions, since yesterday we are discussing that what is qualitative research, like one has to select a problem and then review literature, design, research, collecting. These are some of the steps. However, when you work with government organization or with universities or with NGOs, you don't need to select objectives, because objectives are already given. Of course, further way of working, you have to develop, you have to innovate, you have to design all your research plan. So these are the common qualitative research methods. You are all aware, like case studies, observation method, focused group discussion, or interviews or case studies. These are open-ended questionnaire, document analysis, field notes. So when you start working for a project, there are 3 processes, like planning, government organizations or NGOs or institutions. Even individuals can do a planning, like individual researchers, you are doing PhD. So you can do that thing as well. But individuals planning will be at a small scale level. So government organization, they go through the budgetary provisions, like in budget, they just have some plans for some schemes, like Manrega schemes, they just have some planning, some budgetary allocations through Finance Commission as well, or even NGOs or even institutions, they can do the planning, the whole framework. And then comes the implementation part. That implementation part is like collaborating with the other partners. Like if you are doing some primary data, one has to collaborate states, districts, block, and village level as well. My work has been on primary data also. While I was working with Ranchi as research associate. So there I worked on drinking water sanitation. The most of the work was on primary data. So when you use primary data, it is difficult to only just stick to one particular method, like qualitative. It is not possible. It is quantitative also, but qualitative is also part of that particular research. So, and at the 3rd level, there is a monitoring at the micro level of the ongoing projects. And the last one is evaluation, impact, or outcome results. One thing one must say differently, like planning, implementation, and monitoring could be from the same organization, same institution, same individuals. But what is the evaluation of particular studies? The same organization cannot do the evaluation things at the same time. Like suppose there is evaluation of studies of government work, Manrega work. So government, you cannot implement a process and you cannot be evaluator. So evaluator is always a 3rd person which is being hired or which is being given that particular responsibility to see the what is the impact, what is the outcome. Because suppose, and this is very helpful, the third party evaluation process is very important. Why? Because suppose there is a need to reallocate the budget from the government side. So suppose the scheme is not doing well, 100% well, or it is just going well up to partially going well. So government needs to revisit its schemes, or what are the bottlenecks, what are the gaps. So evaluation, impact and outcome makes a difference. So it should happen for any project. Otherwise, it will be just a like one-sided. That is one only supply sided. It will not be a demand sided. I will explain it later on also. What? Okay, so my work was on at Niti Aayog. I was the part of report of the subgroup of Chief Minister on Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. That actually, in Government of India, they started Swachh Bharat Mission in 2014 on the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi on 2nd October. So Government of India was, Niti Aayog was handled that particular task, that it should make a policy framework for sanitation, urban, rural, under the Swachh Bharat mission for ODF and ODF plus outcomes. And of course, it was not possible because only of the government's involvement. So Government of India, they involve people also in this particular work. So this particular report is also available in the public domain, and you can just visit. I have given the report's link as well. I will share the slides also later on after my presentation. So you can also visit, you can also see this particular website, this particular PDF. So what is ODF? ODF means open defecation free, and ODF plus means open defecation free plus waste management, or for the sustainability of those outcomes. Because it is not that sanitation, once you have achieved the sanitation or you are achieved the ODF, open defecation free village, it is not like that it is the end of the things. But because you have every day, it needs to be to clean your home. Like you cannot say that I have cleaned my home for today and it will remain as it is for the year. So what is cleanliness? Government of India's plan till date, like total sanitation campaign, it was introduced in 1999, and then Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan, it was renamed like 2012, and then it was Swachh Bharat Abhiyan mission that was introduced in 2014. It has already 3 phases. Phase 1 is 2014 to 19. Phase 2 is 2020 to 26, and now third phase has started. So in all phases, they have the different goals. I have been part of 2014 first phase, and of course after that also I'm working on the same field of study, but with different objectives. So sanitation part means urban and rural as well, and sanitation status of sanitation coverage means urban and rural as well. It is not that only rural people, rural sanitation will be covered for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Swachh Bharat mission, or rather urban part will also be covered. So it is handled mainly by Ministry of Housing, Urban Affairs. They handles the urban part, and the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, now under the Ministries of Jal Shakti, they handle the rural part. And one thing I would like to say that all the ministries, if there is a need to work, collaborate with ministries, because if ministries are working in silos, it cannot achieve the outcome that was the desired. And what I mean to say, like it cannot be demand driven and supply driven, which I earlier mentioned in my slides. I'd go back to previous slides. Okay. Like total sanitation campaign, it was a supply driven project from Government of India. But now on Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan, it is a demand driven. That means people should also raise their voice through their representative in village, like in Gram Panchayat or maybe in Block Samiti. They should raise their voice, and there they can that's why it is now we have switched over to demand driven side of sanitation part. Okay. So ministries, if they are cooperating with each other, they are not working in silos, and they are working like I already mentioned that rural and urban, they are handled with different ministries. One thing is also that there are regulatory framework also for waste management, because we are talking about ODF plus, and that is waste management also. There are different kinds of waste, which I will just mention in my next slides. And that is, each waste management has different guidelines, and that is handled by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Environment. And then, because that's why I told that ministries, they need to work with each other, not separately. If they are working, that would not give the desired result. So what we did in that report writing, there was some of the what is the current status, because we need to make a framework for we need to give a roadmap for the for ODF and sanitation plus. So for roadmap, what we did first, like what is the coverage, what is the status, and what is the current financing of the whole structure of total sanitation campaign, because we renamed it as Swachh Bharat Mission. What are the budgetary provisions in this particular, besides budgets, like in budget, every budget or in every finance commissions, there are some provisions. For the North Hilly states, there are different provisions. For the plain area, there are different budgetary provisions. And also, what are the behavior change, what are the operation maintenance, how it can be, they can handle after the something is made for them. And what are the revival of dysfunctional toilets, because many toilets government of India or state governments, they have made, because sanitation is a state subject. And what are the situation of manual scavengings and rag pickers, what are the waste management, municipal waste, solid waste management, and what are the quantum of municipal solid waste management. We need to document all these data, because based on these data, where we are right now and what can be the policy framework for the later years. That was because we need to complete the first phase till 2019 at the 105th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. So we just took all these points in our report writing while giving the roadmap for the next thing. One thing I would like to say, that there were many recommendations. You can, of course, go through those site and refer it also, like Swachh Bharat says, that was introduced after we presented that report writing to our convener presented it in the report writing to the Honorable Prime Minister. So there was a e-waste management, there was a biomedical waste management. These are the types of waste management, municipal solid waste management. And for every waste management, there is a regulatory framework, but that regulatory framework is not sufficient enough, or the companies, they don't implement it fully. So what charges should be made to them, like pay polluter principle. Pay polluter principle is someone is who is polluting, they will pay. That will financial, if there is a financial burden, one cannot be a free rider. For just one is just using the things, or one is wasting any waste is there, and just think that I will not pay for that. So pay polluter principle was introduced. And then, of course, those regulatory frameworks that needs to be reframeworked for those things. Like I also wrote a paper on e-waste management Earlier, we were just importing e-waste, second-hand e-waste, of course, from second-hand electronic goods from China. And so our country is not a dump yard, no? Because those second-hand electronic goods will be of no use after, say, 2-3 years. So our country was turning into a dump yard. So that we need to change the regulatory framework. Here we also mentioned there was also plastic waste, then liquid waste, then quantum of liquid waste. I mentioned that there is a need to revisit legal and regulatory framework for waste management. So we also, and because it was a national policy framework, so we just also ranked what are the major states, what are their rankings in open defecation, which states is lagging behind, and which states are lagging behind, and which is the just benchmarking states one can follow. So in this particular, while documenting all these things, we also narrated the Nadia district. At that time, it was the first ODF district, and also lessons from Mizoram, that states. I will just give you some of the abstracts of our case studies that we have mentioned in our report writing of Nadia districts and lessons from Mizoram also in my next slides. And what are the financial requirements also? That also what are the financial requirements? Because government, as I told you, if we make it demand driven approach, then government or other NGOs or other partners, they will also help. And there are many NGOs also which are working in, they are having partnership with the government, and they are providing financial support to the government in just achieving this particular goal of Swachh Bharat mission. So financial requirement are there. There is a budgetary support also. There are corporate social responsibility. If you visit any company, whether it is IT company or any other company, they are also having corporate social responsibility, and water, sanitation, and hygiene is one of their major goals. And but I also think there should be individual social responsibility as well. There are external sources also, not only international but national also, and there are other contributors also. Of course, there are finance commission's provision in achieving this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and there is a tax provision, like as I mentioned earlier, there was a Swachh Bharat cess that was introduced, and there was financial institutions also, and there is innovative financing also. We just documented in our report writing all these points. So this is the first, just as I mentioned earlier, that the case of Nadia district, West Bengal, and the district administration of Nadia district, how they made it successful. If you go to any particular area, their requirement and their motivation is different from other states. Maybe Mizoram has a different culture, and of course, it is different culture, and West Bengal has a different culture. So their local, if the involvement of the local people is there, then of course any mission, any government of India's mission or any mission is successful. So we documented here also that there is a ODF story of Nadia district. Earlier, that was called Swachh Nirmal Bharat also. Swachh Bharat lessons from Mizoram. Like state is free from problem of open defecation. So how can Mizoram that, and why we gave this best practices? Because other states can also follow, and other states were given guidelines to follow to achieve the Prime Minister's program, Prime Minister's personal involvement in making this particular mission successful. So what are the okay, now I will just because I need to mention all the my work here. I just want to mention some of my works here, so related to drinking water. That in the second work which I am going to mention, it is about impact of National Rural Drinking Water Program and Total Sanitation Campaign in rural Jharkhand. That was my work based on primary data. This particular work, report writing work of Niti Aayog, it was totally based on government data. We believed on government data, and we also visited different states to see the best practices and to document it in our report writing. And one thing I forgot to mention is about Watson water sanitation financing, because at that time water organization, they were also making budgetary provisions. They were also financing these particular to just support this particular program. So we have also mentioned in our case study about this water organization, Watson financing. So second, I would mention here second project, because I just want to relate it also that some of you are working on qualitative data and just want to know about. So how this particular project was based on primary data at IIM Ranchi that I completed. So there, what were I was just going through listening last session also, and what are the like how we make the questionnaires. I was just going through the questions. So there are certain points. In fact, if you are doing a PhD research and if you are involved in some projects, that would be like your second PhD. So I would consider this particular project as my second PhD, because you need a lot of involvement. You need to make questionnaires. Of course, we made questionnaires in first in English, then in Hindi, because we need to just take the interviews of rural populations. So what were the points on which we asked the questions? I will try to stick to it only qualitative points, although it was a quantitative data also we gathered. There was some points like what are the impact of this particular program, then effect, then durability and sustainability, coverage, quality of water, then role of women, then economic use, and then what are the hurdles, how can you afford it, and then social change, and then operation maintenance. These were the some points we developed the questionnaire. So where when we were just doing the data, so first was we did pilot study, and then we did total because there were 24 districts in rural Jharkhand, 24 districts, and from those districts we just chose some of the blocks, and from those blocks we just selected 20 villages. And then it was all because it was government programs, government project. So we didn't have much liberty to choose our way, it was, we were not having that much liberty, but of course, making on questionnaires, we did it. The third project, which I handled single-handedly, I worked, it was documentation of best practices and success stories of accountability for WASH. It was again on WASH. And it was this particular project, it was a consultancy project, and I have to evaluate the work done by certain NGOs, and these evaluations were based on quality uses, what are the behavior change, what are the economic status, women empowerment, financing, and what are the operation maintenance and sustainability. So I just mentioned some of the points, some of the case studies, because I have to write a coffee table book like on evaluation of studies of those things. So the first one is, I just focused on actually there were 4 districts, that was Gaya, Buxar, and then Bhagalpur, and then Madhubani. I have to visit those districts, and of course, I have to just stick to the qualitative data. I have to take the interviews. I have to give their what best practices they are following. So, but I cannot stick to the only one-sided. That's why I just mentioned here that it was on quality was how, that usage was how, what was the behavior change, and is there any change in economic status of the women, and women are empowered or financing things are there or not, and what are the operation and maintenance, because nowadays panchayat handles all these things and there is a village level committee that handles. So some of the work I have used here, like I have given you here abstracts of my work. Like there is a center near Gaya district in Baki Bazar and Amas block. They are being affected by fluoride content. So what, excuse me. So what changes has been in their life because of that particular fluoride mitigation resource center that was established by that particular NGOs in January 2024. So what effort they are making. So as I told you, that there is a need for independent evaluator. The same person cannot, the same organization cannot be planning implementation and monitoring side as well as in the evaluation side. So they normally take some of the expert in that particular field, although I don't consider myself expert, just a learner. So, and the third, one more case study, which abstract of which I have just documented here, like what is the reduce, how can we reuse of plastic waste, eco bricks movement in Buxar and Madhubani, that we can just make routes or some of the other things we can just make from those plastic waste, so that we can prevent pollution in land, water, and air. That will, of course, make our ecosystem healthy. So thank you so much for giving me a chance. If you have any questions, please ask me. And one project I could not mention because there is a time shortage as well. So if you have any question, you can ask me.
Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful insights into your projects. Yes, I think the floor is open for discussion. We can have questions.
No question?
I'll be sharing the link of the YouTube live stream. Okay, just give us a
If
second.
someone has some questions, they can also write, email me.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
I think you can put down your email ID there in the chat box.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please, Joseph. Go ahead. I think you're able to unmute yourself. Yes, please. Continue.
So, my question was that if you are collecting small cases from all around India, then are you being funded? Like, how do you know that I will get a case like this, like Eco Bricks in Madhubani? And
Okay.
if you are just citing other people's work, then is it not literature review?
The second part I could not get. Yeah. The first part I got. Yeah.
My second part is that are you personally visiting each and every case? Then it is a very tedious task to know that this location, this village, kind
No.
of case.
No. Okay. Okay, Jitsina. First of all, I think you are doing a PhD. right now?
I have completed my PhD, but I
Okay.
am from a different area.
Okay. Jyotsna, one thing is there that these I didn't visit with my own funds. I didn't use that much because I was handed over by an NGO to do this particular evaluation studies. So you may according to research area, you may search some of the consultancy project, some of the research project, and you may be hired or you may be granted to do, or you may be requested to do that evaluation of studies for a short period of time. You are an evaluator there because the same organization, they cannot evaluate their work themselves. Are you getting my point?
So the data is provided to you by them.
Data is not provided, their work is provided. That suppose they
Okay.
have made a toilet in a village, okay, so so they will tell me that these are the 4 districts, like I visited Madhubani, Buxar, Gaya, and Bhagalpur, okay. So I just visited their that particular districts, and that particular, I mean, all visits, all districts are not handled by that particular NGOs. They work along with government organization. I have to take the opinion of the government as well. I have to take the opinion of the that particular individuals also, and also I have to make a report whether I am just an evaluator, like I am their examiner there. They have hired me as an examiner, but I have to give a balanced picture to them. Getting my point? And is it clear to you?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, I am putting my email ID as well. If you have any question, you can ask me.
Ma'am, can we take on projects while doing PhD?
Pardon, I could not get you.
Can we do these projects while doing our PhD also?
Of course, you can do. You can do. Why not? You can apply for the projects. There are many projects available from the government sides also, from NGO side also, and it will give you insight as well. But I think it is the best way to first finish your PhD. Like I did, I finished my PhD in international trade. It was purely based on secondary data, export and import system, and then I switched over to health economics, and it was based on totally on quantitative data, not on qualitative data. Thereafter, I got a chance to work on at IIM Ranchi, and that was based on both primary data and secondary data. And there also, I got a glimpse of that qualitative research, but qualitative research was not that. The second part of my project was tribal subplan. That was totally based on qualitative. Mostly, it was based on qualitative data. And then also at Niti Aayog also. And then, as I mentioned, I worked with one. I worked as an evaluator for one of the NGOs also. There, it was totally based on because I have to document the coffee table book. I have to write a coffee table book. So it was totally based on qualitative work. So I would suggest first focus on your PhD. That would be the best thing. Because you may get, I mean, दो नाव पे सवार रखना ठीक नहीं होगा, शायद.
Okay, ma'am.
Definitely, ma'am. You were so right in saying that. Ma'am, Anjali has a question.
Yeah.
Where she actually talks about, she wants to know about how to decide a sample size for a population that is not precisely known. And a following question, which is concerned about the problems that one may face while interviewing people like farmers or people from rural areas. So maybe you can take up the question in 2 parts.
Okay. I have a question. How do you That is not signed on. Okay. Yeah, I think this is a very good question. Suppose you are, I mean, it depends that what is your capacity, in which capacity you are working. Suppose you are individual researcher, so you need to focus small size. Because then you will be just collecting the data and you will be entangled in collecting the data. The conclusion part and the report writing part you will not be able to. Some of you may be able to, but it will take long time. Till then maybe it will take 2 years. Till then the problems could have been changed. So I would suggest, if you are working in a small capacity, try to stick small sample size, or do the pilot study and see other projects also, like livelihood projects, rural areas projects, what are the farmers projects also. And also do the, because North Indian farmers, they have a different provisions. Hilly areas farmers, they have a different problems. If you go to Andhra Pradesh, if you go to Telangana, Kankaria dams, like they have a different problem. So you also need to see the what are the situations, climatic situations of that particular area. So you can just stick to that. And I would suggest, if you are working in with large organizations who can hire the collecting agency, data collecting agency, then of course you can take the large sample size.
Ma'am, I think if it's okay with you, we can move to the next part of the question, where she wants to know about how would one researcher be there in the field and have an interaction, or to say a formal interview with with people of a certain strata, like farmers, and especially people from rural areas. How is it different when you're working in an urban area or so, like? So
Okay.
yeah.
See, in urban areas you can collect the data through a mobile app also. They are very open, they are not shy people. But in rural areas you have to be very particular, because when I was there in the rural areas of like Buxar districts, or in Bhagalpur districts, or in Madhubani district, you have to be very people's friendly. I mean, you need to be you need to assure them that you are there, not to intimidate them, not to make them, I mean, they should not get afraid of your presence. Or sometimes it happens that they have a lot of expectations from you, that you will change their lives, which is not, certainly not. You are just a part of the evaluation process, and that gives, as a human being, I feel pain, because I cannot make a difference at that point of time. Of course I can give some of the valuable inputs to the government, to the agency, that this is the things, but it takes long time to just implement those things. And then if someone has expectations that you will just change their lives, of suppose there is a fluoride content, or there is a iron content in the water, and people are having diseases in the rural area, I mean, you should be very I mean, your heart should be very strong, you should be very strong to listen to their painful stories. That I would suggest.
Is it okay if I intervene a little?
Pardon?
Yes,
Can I
I think. Yes, Jyotsna, you can put forth your
uh,
question. After Ma'am has answered Jyotsna's question, we will take up Rupa's question. It's there in the chat box. Yes, Jyotsna, you can go ahead.
in I totally resonate with what ma'am is saying. It is very difficult for us to convince people to talk about sensitive issues, especially when you are an independent researcher. Then how do you convince? Like they ask questions like, "What will I benefit from this? Why should I give you? I don't have time." All these uh, comments. How do you convince a
See,
sample to participate?
the first thing is, convince them in their language. Try, if you know their language, you are at best, you have already won the battle. Okay, the people will open. Then if you don't know their language, please do I mean, use just if you don't know that language, at least learn that 3-4 words, or they are some of their gestures they are doing, or I think uh, I mean it is best for to let them speak more rather than we just want, like we want answers in that. You should have enough time, because they will not answer like you ask question and they will you ask question and they will answer instantly. Rather what happens, they will see the stories, they might be they were saying something else in the very beginning, and in the very end they will answer. So you should have patience also to listen to their questions, because what are their problems. Okay, so first of all they may be saying their family problems, and then, and suppose you interrupt them in the middle, they will just lose the interest of telling your question. So I would just suggest that, and be in their attire also. Try to understand that if you use their attire like sari or salwar suit, if you are a female, and also like common dresses are there, casual dresses, they will just convince, they will just correlate with you.
What if they refuse? Like most situations, they are disinterested and bluntly just say no. So we will not.
It is human behavior. I cannot comment on that, because everyone has a different perspective. You try to approach the mukhia or the sarpanch first, and then they will also guide you that which persons, I mean maybe some persons are not here, you try to meet their level officials, and then they will certainly guide you. You just convince them that particular person, and then they'll try. I mean, it is trial and error method. You cannot say that you will. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This is helpful.
So also I would like to reiterate one thing is that when you're in the field and when you're talking to the people, much of the work actually goes into how you introduce your own, project or PhD thesis or everything that you're working on. Sometimes the affiliation or, telling that I'm a researcher from this particular institute, sometimes it may help, and sometimes it may, if it's a big institute and everything, sometimes it may also tempt people to be seeking some kind of benefits, if especially when you are working with the people from the marginalized groups. So especially with transgender group, tribal group. So of course, like the many people come and go, they do studies on them, but at the end of the day, they realize that there is no benefit. When I talk of benefit, it is not just coming out from that marginalized arena, but also sometimes monetary benefits. So if they think that if they are giving you their time, they would have worked somewhere and they would have earned that much. And sitting with you, sharing their interaction, if it doesn't bring something back to them, sometimes it may be something that has to be tossed upon. So also how the researcher introduces the project and how that project is not just about having information from the person you're interacting with or having a conversation with, but how that particular subject matter of the project is significant to their everyday lives. I think when you're able to convince the participants on that point, I think that gives you a push as a researcher in the field. So yeah, we have a next question. What is the basic eligibility to take over government projects? Or is there any kind of screening, ma'am? Since you have worked on the projects and most of your presentation was about it, therefore I think Rupa brings up this question. Can you please elaborate?
Okay. So there are all ministries are there. In the ministries' websites, the projects are there. So if you ask me that how did I take and I ventured in these projects, that was quite personal thing, because earlier I was not at all interested in the teaching world. I was in fact very much afraid of teaching. That's I must acknowledge. But of course, after 10 years of teaching experience, I am now in my ninth year at Amity University. That fear is no more. But earlier, yeah, I just wanted to do research. And of course, it was very interesting, especially when I ventured in drinking water sanitation at IIM Ranchi. I was very sure that I will go in that project only. So when I was there, I was selected as young professional at Planning Commission. Earlier, I was in Program Evaluation Office, then earlier in Independent Evaluation Office, and then Program Evaluation Office, and thereafter it was merged in Development Monitoring Evaluation Office. So when my advisor was just selecting those young, just thinking that someone I will take a young professional for this particular report writing, I just jumped to them. Came to them that, sir, I will do this particular thing because I have worked in drinking water sanitation program. So I will, and he asked me to write an abstract regarding a sanitation project, and I wrote about that, and it got selected. And I think it is it is your own interest that will take you to any particular project. And I would say, don't just try to just venture in too many research fields. Maybe 2-3 research fields you need, because it is not possible that you will be successful in those particular the thing. So 2-3 areas are okay. So like earlier, I was just thinking when I did my PhD in international trade that I will just do in that. But what opportunity you get, that is also important. What opportunity is before you? You cannot be unemployed for a long time. So you need to start something. So I just at that point of time, before me, consultancy project, totally based on quantitative data. At Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, they took a small test. I was good there. And at that time, of course, not right now. I think I'm not at that point of level of enthusiasm right now. So thereafter, I came to India, and there also I just I wanted to work on research project here in social sciences. There is now we have started many research works here, but earlier it was the opportunities were very limited. So you just trial and error method.
Also, ma'am, she wants to know about, have some guidance on how would one prepare a research proposal, which is very much directed towards having a government project. She wants to know how would, what are the significant elements that she can include, and what is the basic roadmap to having, making the research proposal apt to be selected for government projects.
Okay.
The second part of the question.
First of all, you have to go through the TOR, terms of reference. Okay. And then also you have to do the methodology part is the most important part in any research project, what methodology you have adopted, and it should be to the focus based to the objective also. So that is the most thing that one should stick to.
Yes, any more questions? So ma'am has already put in her email ID. We can have questions, not a problem. We are on time probably till now. So yeah. Yes, I think some. Okay. Thank you, Rupa. Was I able to frame your question as when it comes to what you wanted to have as a response from ma'am? Or yes, any more questions? Participants who are not looking for the question can please mute yourself. Okay, so I think that is it. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such an insightful presentation, and actually taking us to some of your field works, your research projects and everything, and helping us all to understand how we would restructure and frame our proposals in a way that is suitable to have government projects and where we can actually actively contribute and very meaningfully contribute towards the betterment of the society, such grants and with some very good, substantial, meaningful work. So
Thank
yes,
you.
I think we can, yes, thank you so much, ma'am. I think we can have a break of about half an hour for lunch, and then by 1 we'll start another session, which will be over by 2. Before that, yes, I would request all the participants to kindly switch on their camera so that we can all have a picture with our keynote speaker. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so it's done. Thank you. We can have an half an hour break, and then please be back positively by 1. We'll have another insightful session by one of our keynote speakers, and we'll be talking about fieldwork and documentation method of the field. So yeah, all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, I think we can start now, sir, with your due permission.
So shall I begin?
Yes, maybe I'll just introduce you to our participants. So they have a very brief idea about your work and research, and then maybe you can go ahead.
Okay.
So today our keynote speaker for this session will be Dr. Milan Chauhan. He is an assistant professor in the Subdivisional Government Degree College, BIC, Purnia University, Bihar. He has completed his PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, BHU, Varanasi. Sir has completed his graduation and post-graduation in English literature from Banaras Hindu University. And his interest areas lie in oral traditions, ethnography, gender studies and qualitative research methods. He has mainly focused in his thesis work on Kajri folk songs of Mirzapur with some very good intensive field work. And in his thesis work, he has given particular attention to women's expressive cultures, cultural appropriation, and transformations in folk performance traditions in Mirzapur. Sir has employed ethnographic fieldwork, thematic analysis, and interdisciplinary qualitative methodologies informed by a feminist framework. He has published 8 research papers in leading journals, including Asian Ethnicity, Ethnography, Asian Anthropology, and Ethnomusicology Forum. So I think this sir would be the right person to take us through, such immersive field work where we can generate thick description, if I may put it like that, what Geertz says, thick description of the field work that you are taking on. So over to you, sir. We welcome you all, and on the behalf of ASMC, we welcome you all once again. So yeah, I think you can go ahead now.
Thank you, Dr. Akanksha, for such a wonderful introduction. I'm sharing my slides. Yes. Is it visible? Okay, so I'm delighted to be here and happy to share my thoughts on qualitative methods in ethnographic research. So I'll be talking about qualitative methods in reference to ethnographic research, because qualitative research is a umbrella term. So you will find grounded research, applied research, ethnography, phenomenology, and various types of research designs in this particular qualitative research. So I'll be talking about methods that is employed in ethnographic research. So before talking about methods, I'll briefly give a comparative definition of qualitative and quantitative research. So basically, when we talk about qualitative research, we basically employ qualitative research in order to understand an individual or a group's behavior in multifaceted domains, whereas in quantitative research, we use numbers and stats to measure and test. So this is the brief definition of qualitative and quantitative research. So ethnography. So basically, when we talk about ethnography, ethnography is an qualitative research method which focuses on the social, religious, or cultural practices of an individual or a group. So ethnography, or let's say qualitative methods, it has certain key features that I highlighted in this slide. So first is immersive. So in order to do a qualitative research, you have to, as a researcher, you have to immerse yourself. You have to deeply engage with the community. So you have to live with them. You have to follow their routine. So this is called immersive feature of qualitative research. And then unlike scientific or experimental research, where you conduct your research in controlled environment, you have to be in a natural setting. So this is the second feature of qualitative research, or let's say ethnographic research. And then context is important, because in qualitative research, you have to keep in mind the surrounding, not just the surroundings, but everything, to whom you are talking, the power dynamics, social roles, everything. So you have to be familiar with all these context. And after that, you have to document and record each and everything, like surrounding, like their dress, everything, whatever you are watching, or whatever you are seeing, you have to document, you have to observe each and every detail, because all those things will influence, or let's say impact, your data collection, your research altogether. So this is the brief overview of whatever I'm going to tell you in this presentation. So these are the key methods, key qualitative methods like participant observation, in-depth interviews, field notes and recording, sampling techniques, and analysis techniques. So I'll be talking about all these key concepts. So the first important concept is participant observation. So you have to you not just have to be as a neutral observer in the field, but you have to participate. So let's say if I talk about my research, so I was working with women, rural women in Mirzapur, which is a district in Uttar Pradesh. So I spend a lot of time with them. I follow their routine. I spend day and night with them to understand their language, their culture, their rituals, whatever they are doing throughout the day and night, so that I can have a complete understanding of their culture. So this is called participant observation. So you are observing, not just observing, but you are also participating with them, whatever they are doing. Either they are performing a ritual or they are performing their daily tasks. So you have to participate with them. And what it yields you? So it yields you rich contextual data, because you through your complete immersion, through your participant observation, you will be able to draw a rich contextual data set from them. And but you need to develop a good bond and establish a rapport with them. Then only you will be able to make them comfortable to share. Because when I was in field, when I approached them, they were initially shy, they were initially hesitant to even talk to me. But with multiple visits, with multiple interactions, I made them comfortable, and then I start getting their views from them. And then yes. So unlike experimental or scientific research, we have obviously we have three types of interviews, like structured interviews, unstructured interviews, and semi-structured interviews. But in qualitative research, we use semi-structured and unstructured interviews. And why we use them? Because it is not that much rigid. So we have to give them space, and we have also avail some freedom so that we can ask questions to them, and we can sometimes digress. So first thing is open-ended questions to explore participant perspective. Why this open-ended questions? Because when we have open-ended questions, then we can let them speak more about their personal experience. Because when we talk about qualitative research, or when we talk about ethnographic research, it is a way to understand their viewpoints. So it is a way to understand any phenomena, any social behavior from the respondent's perspective, not from our perspective, not from researchers' perspective. So that is why it is important to provide them open-ended questions so that they can speak a lot. And yes, then sometimes they were hesitant or shy. So you have to employ certain techniques to make them comfortable and make them speak a lot or less. There are certain techniques like probing. So what is this probing? Probing is basically when you so suppose your respondent has finished talking, and but you need some more information. So you ask certain questions. So let's say you ask whether you can give examples, or whether you can illustrate or elaborate this point. So this is a technique which is known as probing. And then you have follow-up questions. So sometimes you ask certain questions, like when I was in field, I was interviewing a male performer who said that I like to sing and dance on the stage. So I asked that don't you think society will perceive you as an effeminate person? So this is another way of asking questions or follow-up questions, so that it will lead to some more information from their perspective. And then this narrative elicitation. This is again a technique where you ask certain question in a way that they start building a narrative or story. They will tell you the entire story of whatever you have asked to them. So these are the techniques through which you can probe deeper. And then yes, we have semi-structured interview and unstructured interview. So in unstructured interview, you approach them with the main focus, with the main question, and during the interaction, you will get to know more about their perspective, and you will ask them other questions. And when we approach them with semi-structured interviews, so in semi-structured interviews, you will approach them, you will ask certain questions which are pre-decided, but you can have that liberty to digress, or you can change the questions meanwhile. So these are the two interview types. Yes. This is another component, important component of field notes and recording methods. So yes, so field notes. So basically, you won't be able to, in the field, you won't be able to record or document everything in real time. So you have to keep a diary, or let's say you have to prepare a field note. Because your recording, audio recording or video recording, they can miss so many things. So you have to document all these things, or you have to jot down each and every detail, so that you can analyze those details, or you can take help of those field notes at later stage. And yes, audio and video recording with participant consent. So this is the most important thing, that you have to take consent without yes, you have to take consent before interviewing them or before recording them. And then you have to use journals and memos for ongoing analysis. So I'll share some of the things with you from my fieldwork to make this point more clear. So you have to, again, this journal and memos. So we use journals to document or write down our daily routine or demographic details of the respondents, and memos for our analytical use. So suppose we have started with certain ideas and how it is going. So it deals with analytical portion, memos. So you see, this is the example from my fieldwork, where I have written certain things which I used at later stage while analyzing my data set. I hope it is visible.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So you'll see that I use certain quotes, or you can say phrases, during my interview or during my fieldwork. Yes. So yes, when you enter the field, you will not be able to interview each and every individual. So in that case, you need a method, or you let's say you need strategies to select a subset from the target audience. So suppose if I'm studying women's culture, so I have to select certain individuals from that entire target population who can represent an appropriate number of people, because I cannot interview each and every individual. So this is known as sampling techniques. So there are two sampling techniques, mainly probability and non-probability. So in probability sampling techniques, each and every respondent has equal opportunity to be selected for the study. but in non-probability sampling, each and every individual, or let's say respondent, does not have that uh, probability to be selected. So here in qualitative research, we mainly use non-probability sampling techniques. So I have taken a few examples from non-probability sampling techniques. So first is purposive. So the name itself is quite evident, purposive. So when we talk about purposive sampling, so it mainly relies on the purpose of your research. So suppose somebody is studying the experiences of cancer patient. So your research has certain purpose, and you have to, in that case, you have to meet just cancer patients. So you won't go to other people. So this is purposive sampling technique. And then this snowball sampling technique, that was used by me during my fieldwork. So I went to the field, I selected, or I met a key respondent during my fieldwork, and that person referred to other people. So it created a chain like structure, that is known as snowball sampling. And then comes convenience sampling. So convenience sampling is basically it acts or functions according to your accessibility of the respondent or proximity of the respondents. So suppose you want to understand the shopping behavior of married women. So you start with your own mother, or let's say with your neighbors, to conduct the interview. And then comes the concept of gatekeepers. So gatekeepers are basically your key respondent in a particular area. So suppose if you are going to a village, so you will contact a person. You will contact a person who will act as a gatekeeper, or who will act as your key respondent. So whenever you go, you will meet that person, and that person will basically act as a bridge between you and your target audience, or let's say population. So this is the concept of gatekeeper, who will provide you easy access to the community. And then this managing insider and outsider roles. So I'll give you the example of insider and outsider role. So suppose if I belong to Bihar and I am aware about Chhat Puja, so and I want to study the different aspect of Chhat Puja, or let's say ritualistic aspect of Chhat Puja. So I'll be treated as an insider in that case. But suppose somebody who is coming from Delhi and who is not aware about this culture of Chhat Puja or this festival of Chhat, so that person will be considered as an outsider. And it has certain, both the concept, they have certain pros and cons, so let's say advantage and disadvantage. So if you are an insider, you will be deeply rooted in that cultural phenomena, but you will miss certain things. You will normalize certain things which can be observed or questioned by an outsider. So this is the basic difference. But suppose if you are an outsider to a culture, you have to spend a lot of time in the field to understand the language, their culture. So this is the advantage and the disadvantages of this insider outsider role. Yes. So yes, data analysis approaches. So there are a number of data analysis approaches like content analysis, thematic analysis. So I'll be dealing with thematic analysis. And this data analysis process is not a linear process where you just start from one point and then you move on to other points in a linear manner. It is constantly going back and forth through your data set. So it is a repetitive process. And yes, so I'll be I'll talk about Brown and Clark's thematic model. So he proposed a 6-step thematic model for the analysis. So I hope this is visible. Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear and visible. We are able to
Yes.
see that.
So initially, after collecting your data set, you have to be familiar with the data set and how you will do this. So you have to read and reread your data. So you can immerse yourself in your data set to have a understanding uh, of your data set in entirety. So this is the first step. So you will have a idea about your data set and initial let's say ideas about your data set, and then you will generate initial codes based on your raw data set. You will generate certain initial codes. So I'll explain. And then comes the emergence of themes and sub themes. So from your initial codes, you will get your themes and sub themes, and then the fourth stage, which is reviewing the themes. So suppose so you will in this phase you will sometimes split your themes, because you are getting so much of ideas crammed in one theme. So you have to split those themes, and then sometimes you combine certain themes in order to have a proper theme, and then sometimes you discard certain themes because maybe you don't have the sufficient evidence for that theme. So sometimes you discard certain themes because you are not having enough data to support your claim. And then comes defining and naming themes. So after reviewing your themes, you will name and define those themes, and then you will produce the report at the end of the analysis. Yes. So, but suppose you have your data in raw form. So there is another step which is known as processing of the data. So suppose you have your data set in Bhojpuri, or let's say in any regional language. So you have to both transcribe your data and translate that data set. So you have to write, or you have to you have to transform your documented, or let's say audio text into written text. So you have to write each and every detail verbatim. You have to document or write each pauses and silences, everything you have to write down. So that is known as transcription. And then you have to translate if it is not in your language, or let's say in English. So you have to translate that data set. So this is called data processing, and then you will be able to analyze your data set. Yes. So this is another example from my analysis. So you will see how this technique is basically called the on the margins coding, where you will write initial codes on the margins. So you see how I have written certain things on the margin. So you will have your raw data set on one side, processed data set on the one side, and on the other hand, and you will have your initial codes. So this is how you generate your initial codes. Is it clear? You can see how I have given names to these initial codes, and then later on I'll combine these initial codes to make a proper or appropriate theme. Okay, so this is again the example from my data set. So in the first column from the example section, you will see the raw data, and at the last section in the last column, you will see how those yes, how the raw data is coded. Is it visible? Can you see this? Yes, naming and calling out. So if you read the raw data set, you will get an idea that how these codes were being generated. Okay, so in the second section, you will see the initial codes, and in the third section, you will see how the themes emerged, and then you refine those themes And in the fifth phase or step, you will see how those themes are named. So I'll give examples, and then comes the report writing. Okay, so yes. Yes. Is it visible up, Dr. Akanksha? Okay. So this technique is known as color coding, where you will assign a color to a particular theme. So if you see the transcript, and then you will instantly get to know that the red color is assigned to the theme of language. Okay. So whenever you will see the red color, you will immediately get to know that this excerpt, or let's say quote, is associated with the theme of language. Okay. So similarly, other colors are assigned to different themes, which is known as color coding. Okay. So here, if you see the green color, it is related to the shift, musical shift, or let's say shift in context of the performance. So this is how you do the coding thing. Okay. Yes. This is one of the most important thing, because if you are doing ethnographic research, or let's say if you are doing qualitative research, then you must be dealing with the human subjects or animals. So you have to take certain things into consideration. You have to follow certain norms. You have to follow certain ethical norms or guidelines. So first is informed consent and confidentiality. What is this informed consent? So when you approach the respondent, you have to inform them about your research. What is the purpose of your research, and whether they are ready to share their thoughts, they share their perceptions with you or not. So you have to take their permission. It can be either in written form or in oral form. So you have to take their permission first, and then comes the confidentiality. So suppose if they are not ready to disclose their names in their writings, or let's say if they are not willing to share their personal details, so you have to maintain that confidentiality, or their personal details must be used by an authorized person or just for the academic purpose. So you have to ensure them. And then comes the respect for participants' privacy and cultural norms. So as I said, you have to, suppose you are working on a sensitive issue, and participant, or let's say respondents, they have shared some uh, private thoughts with you. So you have to respect that, or you have to maintain that privacy, and you have to also follow the cultural norms. You cannot violate their cultural norms. Suppose you are observing a ritual, so you have to follow that cultural norms. You cannot violate their cultural norms, or let's say their way of doing things. Yes. And then comes the reflexivity and researcher positionality. So reflexivity is very important, because suppose you have this position of insider, insider researcher. So in that case, you might be affected by your own personal likes and dislikes, or let's say your own biases, or let's say your own assumptions. So you have to keep them away. You have to constantly question your assumptions, or let's say your likes and dislikes during your field work, or let's say during the analysis process. Otherwise, it will be a lopsided analysis from your side. So you have to keep that in mind. And yes, researcher's positionality. So if I talk about myself, I was a male outsider where I was working, because I was working in Mirzapur with women. So for them, I was outsider because I do not belong to that place, and I was a male. So it was quite difficult for me to build a rapport with them. It was very difficult because they initially they were not ready to share anything with me, and even at later stages, uh, they were hesitant while let's say talking about female body, or let's say sexual symbols. So they were not that much comfortable with me, or they whatever they share in a very covert manner. So I have to decode all those things. So this can be the problem. This can be the problem if you are you about your positionality. So positionality matters a lot. Yes, and then handling sensitive information responsibility. So basically, suppose somebody has shared a very sensitive information, or let's say if you are working on the anxieties or depression of postpartum period of women, so you might get sensitive information from respondent side. So you have to handle those information in a very responsible manner. So it is your job to take things uh, in a very proper manner. Yes. So these are certain challenges that a researcher who is doing a qualitative research faced during their interview or during their field work. So it is very time consuming, because if I talk about myself, I was documenting women's performative culture, and it was season specific. So I have to visit uh, the field every year for just 1 or 2 months. So it was very time consuming. And then yes, maintaining objectivity and managing researcher bias. So as I said, it is a way, ethnographic research, or let's say qualitative research, is a way to understand the phenomena from respondents, or yes, respondents perspective, from their subjective viewpoints. And you have to be an objective neutral observer, which is very difficult. If you belong to that culture, it is very difficult to be objective. So you have to maintain that objectivity, and that can be achieved through reflectivity. So you have to reflect again and again about your position, about your assumptions, about your personal likes and dislikes. So you have to be very careful. Yes, dealing with access restrictions and participant withdrawal. So one thing is very important, that you have to tell them that they can withdraw from the study, or they cannot answer any question if they don't like, or they can withdraw from the research wherever they want. So this is another problem. So most of the times some of the participants, they take voluntary withdrawal from your study. So you cannot do that, or you cannot do anything for that. So you will be on the receiving end. And then access restrictions. So I was a male, so I was not allowed to talk to young brides or young girls. So this is another problem that I faced during my field work. This is just another example of qualitative research, where the researcher is basically trying to understand the cultural beliefs, social networks, and environmental factors that affect the health decisions in a particular community, where qualitative methods like participant observation in their natural setting, in-depth interviews with residents, and detailed field notes. So all these qualitative methods are used in this particular research. Yes. So these are certain tips before going to the field, or before doing ethnography, or let's say attempting qualitative research, So you have to first of all, you have to build a good rapport with them, because as I said, when I was in field, when I first met them, so they were hesitant, they were not ready to talk to me at all. But when I finished my field work, uh, I was I was their favorite, and they offered me so many things, vegetables, fruits, everything, when I was about to leave the field. So this is how you have to make them comfortable, so that they can share your thoughts, uh, not just the data set, but their personal problems and everything. So you have to build a good rapport with them. You have to build that relationship with your respondents. Yes, and then you have to keep note of everything. You have to maintain a diary. You have to take field notes, which will obviously help you in your later stage of your research. And then, as I said, you will be on a receiving end in qualitative research, or let's say in ethnographic research. So you have to be very flexible and adaptive, because situations will change, people will change, they can withdraw, or you won't be able to attend sometimes. So for that matter, they withdraw. So you have to face all these things. So you have to be very flexible during the field work. And again, you have to reflect continuously. As I said, if you do not reflect, if you do not question your own positionality, then your entire study will be lopsided, or let's say unbalanced. So yeah, this is the summaries, that ethnography, or let's say qualitative research, is immersive. So you have to deeply engage yourself with the field, with the people whom you are studying. And then comes the methods like participant observation, so that you have a better understanding of their culture, their language, their rituals. And then comes the ethical rigor, reflexivity, and adaptability. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful uh, session. We have one question.
Please.
It's not just a question, but I think someone has actually shown some interest in the kind of fieldwork that you have done, and especially the area where you have worked. So, Ankit, I think he has requested you to, if you could summarize, the whole context of the fieldwork that you have undertaken in the area, and what, did you what were your takeaways from those fieldwork? How did you interact with the people? And what was it all about? What were the themes that you were focusing on that you highlighted in your work? And Ankit wants it to be in Hindi, so probably he thinks he can connect.
So I have to
So
answer.
he belongs to Purvanchal, and therefore his sense of belongingness has given way to this interest.
So whether I should answer it in Hindi or.
I think you can mix it up both for all our participants.
Okay. So I'll start from the very beginning, that I actually developed this idea of uh, researching women and their folk song, or let's say their artistic performance, from my mother and grandmother, because I heard them singing all these songs. So initially, I was trying to basically deal with cultural text, let's say the published material. But at later stages, I thought of collecting first-hand data, because after reviewing the literature and everything, I got to know that there is very less first-hand data in this field. So I contacted my maternal uncle. Who are the.
Sir, sir, I'm sorry to intervene. Ankit wants to know about it in Hindi. If you can uh, just
Okay.
again rephrase yourself, and he
Okay.
wants.
अच्छा ठीक है, तो बेसिकली हमने ये जो मेरा इंटरेस्ट आया फोक सॉन्ग, या फिर वेमेन का जो कल्चर है, आर्टिस्टिक कल्चर है, उसको लेकर के वो हमें डेवलप हुआ हमारी मदर और ग्रैंड मदर से, क्योंकि हम उनको बचपन से ये चीज़ें गाते हुए देखते थे, परफॉर्म करते हुए देखते थे। तो इसकी वजह से हमको लगा कि इसके ऊपर हमें काम करना चाहिए। और जब हमने लिटरेचर रिव्यू किया, हमने जो एग्जिस्टिंग लिटरेचर था जब उसके बारे में पढ़ा, तो हमें लगा कि ज़्यादातर जो मेल स्टेज परफॉर्मर्स हैं उनके उनको उनका फर्स्ट हैंड डेटा कलेक्ट किया गया है, लेकिन जो रूरल वीमेन हैं, दोज हु आर ओरिजिनेटर्स ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर आर्ट फॉर्म, तो वो महिलाएं जहाँ से ये निकलता है, जहाँ से ये पर्टिकुलर आर्ट फॉर्म और लोकगीत निकलता है, उनके बारे में बहुत कम लोग जानते हैं, या उनसे डेटा कलेक्ट करने की कोशिश बहुत कम लोगों ने की है। तो इसकी वजह से हमने मिर्जापुर फील्ड चुना। फील्ड चुनने का कारण ये था कि मिर्जापुर को ही ये माना जाता है कि ये कजरी जो है, जिसके ऊपर हमारा काम था, कजरी फोक सॉन्ग के ऊपर, वो वहीं से ओरिजिनेट हुई है। और इसी यही वजह था कि हमने मिर्जापुर चुना। और हम बाकी जगहों पे इसलिए नहीं जा सकते थे क्योंकि वो जैसे हमने बताया कि वो सीजन स्पेसिफिक है, कि वो सावन में ही वो गीत, वो परफॉर्मेंस करती हैं। तो इसलिए हमको कॉन्स्टेंटली 3 साल तक वहीं पे हर साल सावन के महीने में जाना पड़ता था। तो वहाँ पे हम अपने मैटरनल, जो हमारे अंकल थे, हमारे फूफा जी बेसिकली, उनसे हमने कांटेक्ट किया और उनकी मदर से कांटेक्ट किया। तो दैट्स वाई आई यूज द टर्म स्नोबॉल सैम्पलिंग, कि उनकी मदर ने हमको जो है बाकी जो उस कम्युनिटी में, उस विलेज में जितने लोग थे, उनसे हमारी बात कराई, और उनके सॉन्ग्स को रिकॉर्ड किया हमने। और फिर जो है मतलब बहुत सारी ऐसी चीज़ें थी जो अनप्लान्ड थी। और फिर उसके बाद हमने जो है और विलेजेस में गए। इनफैक्ट वहाँ से बहुत दूर, जो मिर्जापुर सेंटर माना जाता है, विंध्याचल टेम्पल, वो वहाँ के आसपास के विलेजेस में हम जा कर के हमने महिलाओं से बात की, पुरुषों से बात की। वहाँ पे हमारे कुछ कुछ की रिस्पोंडेंट थे जिनके कांटेक्ट में हम अभी भी हैं। तो वहाँ पे हम गए, और की रिस्पोंडेंट्स की वजह से हमारा उनको अप्रोच करना थोड़ा इजी था, क्योंकि इनिशियली वो लोग हमको न जानते थे, ना पहचानते थे, हम उनके लिए आउटसाइडर थे। और दूसरी प्रॉब्लम थी कि मेल थे। तो ये दोनों चीज़ें थी जिसकी वजह से हमको इनिशियली प्रॉब्लम फेस करनी पड़ी। लेकिन बाद में हमने धीरे धीरे कॉन्स्टेंटली विजिट किया, वहाँ पे उनसे बात की। तो धीरे धीरे वो कंफर्टेबल हुई। और उसके बाद उन्होंने मतलब हमको खुद इनवाइट किया कि आप, हाँ, इस दिन पे आइए, इस दिन पे आइए, जिस दिन हमारे फेस्टिवल्स होते हैं, जगह पे आइए, आप कजरी के दिन आइए, आप रक्षाबंधन के दिन आइए, तो सो दैट आई कैन रिकॉर्ड देम। तो इस तरीके से चीज़ें स्टार्ट हुई हैं, और धीरे धीरे फिर हम मतलब काफ़ी कंफर्टेबल हो गए। तो जब हम उनसे एक टाइम पे परफॉर्मेंस उनका रिकॉर्ड करते थे, यूजुअली रात के टाइम में, और फिर अगले दिन हम अपने क्वेश्चंस के साथ उनसे मिलते थे। सेम चीज़ें जो कुछ हमें पता भी होती थी, तो भी हम उनका पर्सपेक्टिव जानने की कोशिश करते थे। और एक टेक्निक ये भी थी कि हम एकदम जो है ऑथेंटिक डेटा कलेक्ट कर पाए, या फिर उनका सब्जेक्टिव जो नॉलेज है उसके ऊपर फोकस कर पाए। तो वो तरीका ये था कि हम एनालिसिस के बाद भी उनसे जाकर के पूछते थे कि हमारा ये इंटरप्रिटेशन है आपके डेटा सेट को लेकर के, तो क्या ये सही है। तो फिर उनका फीडबैक आता था कि नहीं, इसमें ये चीज़ जो है ऐसी नहीं है, या ऐसे नहीं बोल, मतलब हम ऐसा नहीं बोलना चाह रहे हैं, हम कुछ और बोलना चाह रहे हैं। तो इस तरीके की चीज़ें धीरे धीरे हुई। तो आई थिंक कि दिस वाज द होल प्रोसेस।
So I think, can you just tell our participants more about Kajri song? I mean, what is it and
Okay.
who performs it and what are the content of the song? I think that would give some more context to our
Okay.
participants who are not aware of this.
Okay. So Kajari, just like other folk songs, so you must be aware about other folk songs like Birha, Chaiti, Jatsari, Gavana, Gari. So all these are folk songs. And why these are folk songs? Because they have certain specific tunes. So Biraha has its own tune, Chaiti has its own tune, Jassar has its own tunes, and then you have this Sohar. So all these are folk songs, because these songs are sung by women, or let's say common folk. So that's why these are folk songs. And इनिशियली इट इज आइडेंटिफाइड बाय पर्टिकुलर ट्यून, जिसको हम हिंदी में धुन कहते हैं। तो वो उसी के द्वारा आइडेंटिफाई की जाती हैं। तो इसलिए ये फोक सॉन्ग्स हैं। और इसी का एक वर्जन है जिसको हम सेमी क्लासिकल बोलते हैं, जो कि हमें हमें घराना स्टाइल में मिलता है। कि इफ़ यू कम टू वाराणसी और बनारस घराना, यू विल गेट द refined version of that folk song, Kajri folk song, which is known as semi-classical version of Kajri folk songs over here in Varanasi. So initially I have this thought in my mind that only women they sing these songs, and migration is the main theme of these songs. But when I documented or recorded their performance, I got to know about their artistic or performative, let's say, performative culture. So these are not just the songs. So they are accompanied by various enactments, various theatrical performance. So all these issues, and they mainly it's a it's a carnivalistic festival, or let's say it creates a liminal space for them for the time being, or let's say for that particular period of time, where they perform without any filter. So they use abusive language, or let's say vulgar phrases, words. They cross dress during their performance, and they completely elevate themselves during that performance. So they cannot, do not they do not have this, let's say, so they are basically transformed human beings during that performance. Although after that performance, everything returned to the normal order, but during that performance, they are transformed human beings. And it is again, I think, a process through which you cleanse your various bottled up emotions. So because in rural areas, women generally do not have any decision making power, or let's say they cannot challenge gender resentments, they cannot challenge the patriarchal structure of the society, they cannot challenge so many things which are imposed upon them. So this is their way of critiquing, or let's say posing a threat to these pressing ideas during that period of time. So it gives them a breathing space, basically.
Sir, can you tell us about what were the major themes of, like the papers that you could actually produce, where you
Okay,
focused on
so
each particular theme?
okay, so
And one question from, I think, while answering that, you can actually answer this question as well. How did, and what are the important soft skills that you undertook to, carry out this participant observation?
okay. So what are the things that I have learned from them, or
How
what are the
important are
things
the soft
which
skills while you were carrying out this participant observation?
uh, I think there are certain things like first I was not able to understand certain things, certain phrases, because I belong to Varanasi, and they were speaking Bhojpuri, but slightly different Bhojpuri, and there were certain phrases and certain things which I was not able to decipher or decode at the beginning. So I spent a lot of time with local people to learn their language, uh, and uh, uh, and I think I developed certain things like I am also a very shy person, but with multiple visits and multiple rounds of question and answer, I make myself comfortable, and I also make them comfortable, so that they can, because as I said, they also started sharing their personal problems, what their daughters are doing, what their husbands are doing. So all these things. So not anything specific, just language, and constantly or multiple visits. These are the things that I employed to get the data.
Sir, one more request. So participants actually want to see a video or something where you could actually, where you were able to record the performance or singing. Is it possible to
Uh, I
uh,
I
play it
lost
here, or
most
some pictures maybe?
most of the data set, but I'll show you some of the pictures, maybe, or maybe a clip.
Yeah, a shorter
Just
clip
a
will
moment. Just a moment. Is it visible? Hello?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. So we'll see the pictures of a performer. And women, they are basically performing Dhunmunia Kajri. It is a variety of Kajri where they move their body in backward and forward motion while singing. Here they are enacting. So this is how they defy the place. They defy the place where they perform because they considered it as a sacred deity or place. All the roles are played by women only because this is a very exclusive place where you won't find a single man. They are using props for their theatrical performance. They don't have that much resources, so whatever they got, they perform with them. I hope all these images are visible to you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, we can.
Okay. I can play a video for you, but you won't be able to understand. Shall I? Shall I play the video?
Sure, sure, sir. Small clip. The audio of the clip is not, I think, working.
What? Audio is not clear?
Yeah, the audio is not clear. So if you can.
Hmm. Actually, this is the video. I used an audio recorder for better audio quality. So maybe yes.
Yes, I think, sir, if I would request you to kindly drop an email. So one of our participants, Sumanta, is interested in having your insight on one of her ethnography research work, where she is working on effectiveness of Bhagavad Gita-based wellness intervention on employee retention and performance in West Bengal. Probably your field work and your ethnographic approach would be able to give her some support in this sense.
Okay, so it is already written here, my
Oh,
email.
okay. So, yeah, just any more questions? And also, I think Ankit Tiwari would like to connect with you personally after this workshop, probably.
So somebody is asking about the themes. So if you allow me to.
Sure, sure. So please go ahead.
So the themes which emerged after the analysis are basically placemaking, which is again a sociological phenomena, where through your cultural practices and behavior and through your performance, you embed meaning to the particular places. So this is a sociological phenomena. So women in rural areas, they deify almost everything. So they also deify the plant, the place where they perform, and that place is known as Chowghat. So that is a physical space, but they embed meaning in that particular place with their performance, with their offerings. So they offer puffed rice, milk, all these edible stuffs to evoke that place. So this is the first theme, and then the theme of critique of patriarchal system, and then comes the language thing, where they also use language as a subversive tool. So through their own creative and innovative language, they challenge the language of men. So this is the third theme, and then comes this concept of cultural appropriation, because in current time, in current scenario, their performance, their traditional space, and their folk song, both the things are commercialized and appropriated by elite, or let's say upper caste and class, both male and female members of the region. So that was the last theme that I found after the analysis, which was, I personally like the theme of cultural appropriation. So these are certain themes.
So yeah, I think Ankit has a request to show documents. Probably he's talking about field notes. I think Ankit, it was already there on Sir's slide. However, you can also connect with Sir on his email to have a deeper understanding. Yeah,
Yes.
probably this slide would be helpful for you. And also the one where Sir has actually done some coding on the margins. So also that would be helpful.
Yes.
Otherwise, you can also connect with Sir on through the email ID that I have posted. Any more questions? Geeta Ben has a question. Varanasi people speak Kashika. I mean, I think the participant wants to know about how this whole thing is different, because Mirzapur is, I'm not wrong, not very far away from Varanasi.
Kasika is slightly different from the Bhojpuri language that is being used in or spoken in Mirzapur. So you won't be able to understand certain cultural terms, like if I use uh, uh, Gabda, which is a word used for idiot. So there are certain things that occurred in folk songs. So you won't be able to understand those things. So you have to ask them for these specific terms and terminologies. So you won't be able to understand each and everything, although you will have a sense of it completely, but you have to be very specific about each and every word, because if you are analyzing the songs, so you have to understand each and every word, because if I'll give you an example. So why this singing culture is important for them because they also improvise, or let's say uh, innovate during their performance. So it is it not everything is not scripted. So they improvise and they create during their own performance, during their performance. So usually you will find a large list of jewelry items in folk songs. But during a performance, some of the women, they use the word skirt. So if you are not aware about the cultural connotation of the word skirt, then you won't be able to understand the entire performance. So they deliberately use that word skirt because skirt means women, or let's say their dignity. So the context of the song was that, so he kept everything on bet, every jewelry item, but she deliberately use that word skirt to intensify the criticism of men. So this is how you understand each and everything. So you cannot miss a single word. I
Also,
hope.
sir, I mean, out of my curiosity, can you reflect on the cross-dressing aspect of the Kajri songs and performance during the festival?
Yes. So as I said, so they perform certain acts which they call nakkal, or you can translate it as imitation. So basically, where they perform or impersonate as male members of the society. So it gives them an opportunity to critique those men. See, so it is again their strategy, their performative strategy to dress as men, and sometimes they also on the very festival of Kajri, these cross dressing, they also allow them to move freely in those spaces where they are not allowed to go in usual days. So sometimes they dress as police inspector. So this sense of this also gives them a sense of power for the time being. So they can go to the market place. They can stop every or any passerby. They can ask for money on that particular day, on that particular festival. So it will give them a fleeting sense of power. So they are not just doing this for the sake of entertainment. It also gives them a sense of power on the day of festival. So this is the main purpose of, and they can also obviously abuse, critique, and beat men on that particular day. So these are the things that they very smartly employ to have that sense of power, because obviously they are not allowed to do certain things in the society.
Thank you, sir. I think I don't think we have any more questions left that has not been addressed. So yeah, we have been able to respond to all the queries. So thank you, sir. Thank you once again for taking us through the terrains of the song and festival of Kajri. It was a great experience, and especially understanding your documentation of fieldwork, and not just how ethnography adds element to the whole process of bringing out an output from the research process. Yeah. So I think we all can switch on our cameras to have a picture with the keynote speaker, and then we can wind up for the day. Thank you, Anuja, and thank you all the participants who found the sessions to be very interesting and insightful, all the 3 sessions today. So yes, I think Animesh sir will do the next. Sir, can you please stop sharing the screen so that all our participants are able to switch on their camera, and sir is also here. Yeah. Yes, sir, I think we're ready. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again, Dr. Milan, for sharing such an insightful session. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Akansha.
I'll end the meeting for all of us. Goodbye, participants. We'll see you tomorrow for session 3, and thank you so for joining.